This is the trash of today, a little nerdy-ass loser that fell into the middle of a competition where every participant is a thirsty girl with an animal spirit inside of her. Meanwhile, our boy is this simple human having to go up against the pig girl that makes bro smell her socks and puts them on his head like he's fucking Dobby from Harry Potter or something. The cat girl that's always invading my bro's bedroom for some nighttime warmth using high-tech invisible clothing, only to be surprised by the bunny girl neighbor who is his childhood friend. There's the monkey girl, and God knows how many others. And since he is the organizer of the event, his presence makes the girls cry. Babes are sad and walking around with tears running down their thighs when they see our Chad, because they need him to recharge their batteries via physical touch, and the closer and deeper, the stronger they become. Yeah, my dude is suffering these heavenly tortures of having 12 animalistic girls chasing him down 24/7. This shit is so brutal that I would never pay a huge sum of money to have the same chance. But while these animals are walking around trying to devour my boy, he's just trying to survive and not be the toy of those competitors. But before things get deliciously good, I mean bad, we gotta run back to the first encounter with the cat, and the main character says his name is Lu Ju. Some loser reading a little cat book and saying he doesn't care about socializing. He doesn't like school, and he doesn't like this whole crowd yelling and begging for a pass. Since he's weak and painfully shy, he couldn't care less about sports. Because of that, he lives kind of isolated and has a hard time fitting in with the group. All he wanted was for people to be as harmless and calm as animals. He has no idea what's coming. Suddenly above him, there are 10 little toes wiggling. He looks up and sees a big foot. What is that? He instantly turns bright red. Then you realize she's wearing that famous invisible outfit. She looks down with a little giggle and moves closer while he tries to hide. She gets right in his face saying she's there to investigate, while he has no clue what she's talking about. She's basically saying she's imagining something. She's sure she saw something. He still doesn't get it, but then the door swings open and someone kicks it. He drops to all fours, twisted up, while the girl says she finally found him. And then you see the face of this other unhinged girl. He's swearing there was a girl in invisible clothes, but the other girl looks at him like he's lost it. It's obviously the rooftop and there's nobody there. Unless she jumped off. He's stunned, because the place really did turn empty out of nowhere. Was he imagining things? But now the girl comes over, squishes his face, and says the damn liar is going to be punished. The scene keeps going, and the author makes it very clear what they're into. We're not even 24 minutes into this story, and we're already on the second foot, and someone's saying this would make certain people very happy. She's smacking his face with her foot. Seriously, what kind of humiliating punishment is this? And she clearly knows what she's doing. She asks why he's complaining, since this is basically a reward. The weirdo, or maybe he's just being honest, who knows, stammers that yeah, maybe it's not that bad. The smell was nice. Only a psycho would say that out loud. Everyone laughs and she says it's fine. He's beyond saving. Then she yanks off the treasure cover and shoves it in his face. With that psycho expression, the whole class is wondering if this kid is some kind of creep. The bullying starts coming at him from every direction. Then someone suddenly asks about this wife he supposedly has. He's completely confused, like his brain just short-circuited. Now a girl in class wants to know if he really has a wife, if they live together. What is this conversation? She tells him to confirm it already, or it's going to get worse for him. He's sweating bullets because he doesn't want to reveal anything. And then we see the target of all this, a girl sitting calmly in the corner of the classroom. Her name is Raven, acting like she has no idea what's going on. And the pink-haired girl wants to know how serious their relationship is and how far they've gone. Raven stands up, and the artist's pencil basically catches fire. The strategic angle gets used, and she walks over with the kind of aura that says she's ending this right now. She looks at the pink-haired girl, tells her to stop messing with him, and says yes, they live together. But what does that have to do with any of them? The pink-haired girl, Haiji, tries to make a little joke, like, oh, it's just that. But Raven cuts her off again, telling her to mind her own business and leave him alone. The main character is standing there, not even understanding what kind of mess just exploded out of nowhere. Haiji doesn't know what to say when Raven calls her a pathetic gossip. Raven brushes past, bumps her, and Haiji can't even respond. Raven grabs the main character and tells him they're leaving. As they walk out holding hands, Haiji just stands there shaken with nothing to say. The scene shifts to another part of the school. They hide in the supply closet, and he tries to thank her for what she did, but she immediately tells him not to get any stupid ideas. She only did it because it's embarrassing for her to see him getting treated like an idiot. He's standing there awkward as ever, getting insulted nonstop by the girls and by the narrator too. Raven asks why he's so spineless. She's known him since they were kids, and she can't stand watching him be everyone's punching bag. She just keeps going. He's realizing it too. He grew up with her, but the distance between them feels huge. She's super social and pretty, and he's just some random loser, total trash. But while Raven is starting to tell him to stand up for himself, a little cat jumps in through the window straight at her. The cat lands right in her face. He moves to help. Then he trips, and suddenly she's on top of him. The focus lands on her little necklace. He looks at it and remembers the past, when he gave it to her. Back when she was basically a big-headed Funko Pop kid. She asks what he's thinking about, and he's stuck there saying he can't get out of this position. They're both blushing, and then the cat comes sprinting through, bites the necklace, rips it off, and leaps back to the window. It looks back with this smug little glance. Raven realizes the little demon stole her necklace. She yells, and he stands up asking what happened, what the problem is. He thought it was just a necklace he gave her, but he sees how crushed she is. He turns and says it's not going to end like this. The cat is running through the classroom, wrecking everything, and Hyjin hears something behind her. She turns and sees the cat zoom past with him chasing after it. The cat darts between her legs, and he runs through too, bumping into her. Hyjin screams, asking what he thinks he's doing, takes off her slipper, and throws it at his back, but it hits him, spins up over his shoulder, flies past his face, and nails the cat dead on. And it launches the cat right out the window, and you already know what he does. He remembers he's the main character, and jumps after it like a complete maniac. From below, Raven sees him in midair starting to fall. The genius jumped to save the one animal that probably wouldn't even die from that height. Even the cat is calling him an idiot for jumping with her, which is wild, because she's sure she'll survive. He, on the other hand, is done. Looks like she won't have time to find the ideal partner, so it'll be him. Since he went that far for some random cat, maybe he deserves the power of the Magatama. Suddenly, the stone starts glowing on him, and the cat says a new celestial game is beginning. The whole school starts shining. A yin-yang circle and pentagrams appear under him. The cat tells him to say he accepts, like, kid, you've been talking for 15 minutes in midair. He focuses, shouts that he accepts too, and then the scene switches to a blonde figure. The main character looks like a child, or the other figure is 16 meters tall, and the creature asks what he truly desires. He's confused, trying to figure out what he's even supposed to say in a situation like that. He closes his eyes, but apparently he doesn't say anything, and the dream ends. He wakes up with this big-headed nurse asking if he's feeling okay. He panics, sits up, and accidentally headbutts her. They're both rubbing their foreheads, and she says she has no idea how, but he survived a free fall from the 4th floor. He's totally lost, while she's there like, wow, what a nurse. She demands he explain exactly how he doesn't have a single scratch. He, all awkward, says it must have been a miracle or something. She tells him to go to a real hospital and get tests done, because something has to be wrong with his body. He leaves the room, but there's also this thick-hipped figure watching him from far away. Still, he can't make sense of anything that happened today. When he finally gets home, guess who's sitting on his pillow? He freaks out, saying it's the same cat from before. She says she saved his life, so she owns this place now. He thinks about it for a second and says that kinda makes sense, but what he really wants to know is how there's a talking cat in his room. He starts banging his head, thinking he's gone crazy after the fall. The cat stretches out and tells him to stop playing dumb and just accept the job as judge already. Then she starts roasting him, makes this evil face and pounces on him. Meanwhile, we forgot she lives really close to him. Rabin is sitting there confused. He should have been home already. And then she hears a bunch of noise from his room and runs over to see what's happening. She flies up the stairs, gets to the door, starts knocking, no answer. So she pulls it open and walks in. And what she finds is him with the invisible outfit cat girl. Robin's jaw drops while he tries to process how huge this problem is. The cat girl lets out a random meow. Robin immediately screams so loud the whole neighborhood could hear it. He freezes while the cat girl is clearly enjoying the chaos. Robin runs out yelling to everyone that there's a woman in invisible clothes invading her friend's room. The cat looks at him and says her name is Nina, and he doesn't need to worry about anything. He's way more worried about the mess this is going to cause in Robin's head. Robin is screaming for her mom, saying it's a crime. He has no idea what to do. He's on the floor while she's pointing at him, demanding he explain everything happening in this house right now. The poor guy realizes there's not much he can do. Then Robin's mom shows up saying her daughter is losing it. There's clearly nobody there. She completely ignores it, gives a little goodbye, and leaves. As Robin leaves too, the cat girl attacks him from behind, perfectly. He feels 2 little stings while she's meowing in his ear. Robin comes back to ask something again and sees him with his hand open and the cat girl on the floor. And instantly, she starts thinking something is seriously off. Before he has to explain again, he grabs some pillows, shoves the cat girl into the corner, and tells her to sleep. Watching her doze off, he can't believe that thing just destroyed his social life in 5 minutes. He collapses onto the bed. All he wanted was a little peace. He still has no idea what Nina was talking about, being a judge, some zodiac tournament, all that. And then Nina says the competition from 3,000 years ago is going to happen again. He doesn't care, he just wants to sleep. She wants to explain, but seeing how exhausted he is, she just says she's counting on him. He finally passes out. Then we see a dream, a cultivating human in this paradise-like place. The person is petting animals, and even the cat is there too. A robed figure stands up, asking who will accompany them on this journey, and starts walking away. Oh, actually it's not a man, it's a woman, saying there isn't room for everyone at the top, only 12 seats. And the way they decided who would get those powers was through a competition. So the main guy's in his room and suddenly jolts awake, totally startled. He looks to the side and sees, thank God, the cat is gone. Maybe all of that was just a dream. The good news, he's not that late for school. The bad news, at school, what's waiting for him is a sock to the face, and as he puts it, a nice stinky little foot. He gets up without thinking much and starts putting on his school uniform because yeah, the gross dude really doesn't shower. What he doesn't notice is that the little cat is clearly sitting there at the window. As soon as he finishes getting dressed, she jumps out of the house too and transforms. Like seriously, this thief broke into Raven's place and straight up stole her clothes. Back at school, the protagonist is slumped over his desk, begging to please not get kicked in the face again. But his 6th sense is going off. He remembers Haiji's little giggle and everything Raven told her. All of a sudden he flinches, stands up and takes off running to another classroom. And Raven isn't there. He starts thinking her disappearance is his fault. He goes to her house, knocks on the door, but her mom says she went to school. He's freaking out. She's not answering her phone, she's not at home. He's running all over the place and can't find her anywhere. And then while he's exhausted, guess who shows up acting all casual? Sweet Nina the cat. He jumps when he sees her and asks what's going on. And she explains the same thing she's already explained a bunch of times. The competition is happening, and now that she's in this world, she has to blend into society. He says she's not blending into anything with that ridiculous tail on her back. But more important than that, they need to find Raven fast. Then she tosses away her popsicle stick and goes, well, if the girl disappeared, maybe it's already started. He grabs her by the shoulder and asks what exactly started. And Nina, with that full-on little villain face, says the 12 zodiac signs have come down to earth. Right then, a pillar of light shoots up behind the protagonist. Nina grabs him and says talking time is over because the rituals have begun. The 12 gods are in this world now, and the competition has started. And it looks like one of them chose Raven's body to manifest through. All he wants to know is how to fix this, and where Raven is. Nina explains that first, as the judge, he has to make the gods accept the game. He asks what happens if someone refuses, and she says if Raven refuses, she gets devoured by the god. He's in shock while Nina's smiling, telling him they'd better hurry up and save her. So he goes to that storage room from the beginning. There's a sign saying it's closed, but he knows Raven always sneaks off there, so he starts yelling her name. And inside, she's curled up in the corner. He hesitates as he steps in, asking what's going on. But suddenly she screams at him to get out right now. In the same instant, she blasts past him like a bullet and starts running. He's stunned because she's insanely fast out of nowhere. She's already up the stairs, and we're back to that opening scene on the rooftop. He walks closer, saying he'll explain everything. But then he glances at Nina and signals her. The two of them jump to grab Raven, but Raven leaps away and leaves them both on the ground. And right away, Nina says things just got serious, because his friend became the rabbit's representative. She can jump, but she can't land. She's all twisted up. She passes in front of him, and he's standing there in shock, thinking his friend is gone for good. He's basically about to cry while Nina tells him to wake up. He turns and says he lost his friend, but Nina grabs his arm and tells him to move. They both jump down, and this weird energy appears around Nina's hand and around them, and they land smoothly. Woojin still doesn't understand what's happening, and then he sees Raven is on top of them again, and she's got these ridiculous mosquito-looking ears. She starts flapping them and ends up floating. Nina warns him they need to catch her before the possession finishes, because if her eyes start glowing, that means things are getting bad. Nina cracks her neck like she's about to have fun, then launches at Raven, but the second she's about to touch her, Raven jumps and the two of them face off. It turns into a messy beatdown attempt, Nina trying everything, Raven dodging like it's nothing. Every time Nina gets close, Raven hops away and stays out of reach. But even while Raven's running, she's asking for help. One eye is turning red, the other is tearing up. The protagonist trying to figure out what he can even do. Then he suddenly yells that she has to join the tournament. It's the only way she'll go back to normal. And now even Nina doesn't know what to do because Raven is starting to get fully possessed. But she's way too agile. Then Woojin calls out to Nina and says he knows how to solve it. Nina's surprised by the idea he came up with while Raven keeps hopping all over the school. Nina keeps chasing, her nails glowing. She almost lands a hit, but Robin steps on what looks like Nina's arm and kicks off toward the wall. Now Robin looks like she's completely transformed. They end up on top of another building. Robin keeps running, glances to the side, and climbs even higher, but weirdly Nina looks like she's smiling. Meanwhile, the protagonist is sprinting up the stairs, and we see his plan was to corner her no matter what. The problem is he's useless physically and passes out from exhaustion until he remembers his friend crying. Then he grabs his glasses again, stands up, forces himself to keep going, and reaches the rooftop. The second he opens the door, guess who shows up at the perfect moment? His energy comes back instantly. He runs, and what is this? He moves like a volleyball player, ready to catch her as she falls. Perfect timing. He catches her, and she hits him with so much force, she sinks his foot into the concrete. How did he not crack a rib? He hugs her tight while she's screaming, her eyes glowing. From far away, Nina yells that Robin is already losing consciousness. If she doesn't enter the tournament right now, it's over for both of them. He remembers when it was just the two of them, like little figurines. He's holding on with his hand all torn up, and he yells that he promises he won't let anything happen to her. More flashbacks, Robin as a little kid hiding in fear, and him always there wiping her tears. Back in the present, still hugging her, he shouts and confirms the rabbit's participation in the competition, and suddenly the pillar shoots up into the sky again, and it looks like she's back to normal. Robin goes limp and a little drop falls onto her head. A rabbit drop. Obviously, he has no idea what just happened. Nina just says the others arrived too. The moment she's been waiting for 3,000 years is finally here. He asks who she's talking about, and when he looks back, there are tons of pillars rising all over the city, like a Batman signal on every corner. He knows exactly what that means. A whole bunch of people for him to save. Back at his house, Robin wakes up all dazed. He asks if she's okay and leans in, trying to see if she's really back, but she immediately slaps him and tells the pervert to back off. She asks what he's doing there, and he says it's his house. Then Robin notices the girl in front of her. The cat is wearing her clothes. But that's not even the weirdest part, because she looks to the side and sees a rabbit head floating in the air. Nina says that's the rabbit spirit. Robin realizes it wasn't a dream, and whatever this is, it's connected to her. Nina welcomes her to the Zodiac tournament. Robin's still not really getting it, and the protagonist tells Nina to finally explain what this stupid tournament is. The floating rabbit head starts talking too, saying it looks like they found a bunch of people who don't know anything. Nina tries to speak, but the floating head bumps her and says yes, this is a fight for a seat in the heavens, a divine competition where he has to find the 12 entities using this necklace in less than 100 days. The protagonist asks why Robin was chosen. The rabbit says every god needs a human host to set foot on Earth. Basically, the humans are the ones who have to compete for their positions. That's how they take control of the body, and the little rabbit throws itself into the middle of the chaos. Right away, Robin transforms again, ears popping out. She panics and tries to rip that head off, but Nina tells her to calm down. When there are two souls in one body, they fight for space. The protagonist is trying to understand what he has to do with any of this. But before we get an answer, we cut to an airport where LA is huge. The plot is rolling in, and there's this big-headed kid. Wait, doesn't he look like a younger Woojin? Or am I tripping? A girl is complaining about her shorts and clothes, saying they're weird. Why does it feel like everything she's wearing is shrinking? Then we cut somewhere else. A girl who looks like she just beat up a bunch of people with what seems like a tiger tail. Yeah, that one's gonna be trouble. The kind of girl who loves a fight. Back with the protagonist, it was basically just a teaser for the villains coming up. He asks again what he has to do with this, and why there are 11 more people going through the same nightmare. The rabbit says the exact reason doesn't matter, but one thing is certain. Now that he's the judge, all the chosen people will be people who have some connection to him. That's exactly why Robin was the first one possessed. He gets scared, because that means what happened to his friend was his fault. He starts thinking about the women he's seen the most in his life, and remembers the lunch lady. He looks wrecked, and asks Nina what happens if he doesn't find the other people. She explains that if that happens, the spirits take over the bodies and never go back to the heavens, meaning the people basically die, because the humans lose control forever. Because a god isn't going to want to split rent on their own soul. She grabs his cheek and leans in, saying he can count on her. Just keep her close and she'll help. He's standing there all stiff, not really understanding. The rabbit spirit warns him not to trust her because she's in the competition too. But Nina grabs it and tells it to shut up or she'll end it right now. Now Robin's suspicious and asks what the cat's role is. Nina says she has no role at all. The truth is, the most important person here is Woojin, since he's the judge, even if it looks like he doesn't remember anything. Suddenly, the rabbit spirit flies toward the protagonist, stops right in front of his chest and taps him. At the same time, Nina steps in, grabs his shirt and rips it open. On his chest is this insane yin-yang tribal mark. Robin peeks through her fingers, trying to understand why. The rabbit spirit tells him to look at the divine sticker album he has. He needs to find each of the people whose spirits are marked in there, and he has 100 days to do it, otherwise he'll die. So yeah, now things are really bad for him. He immediately demands an explanation, because nobody told him the judge dies in 100 days. Cut to the kitchen. Time passing. He puts his shirt back on and says, okay, now it's clear, they need to find the other hosts fast. But Robin still has doubts. She asks why this tournament got restarted if the 12 people were already chosen. Nina's expression changes, and the rabbit says it's because of one person's wish. Before the rabbit can explain, Nina suddenly grabs Robin from behind and squeezes her chest, saying that's enough. Meeting's over, it's time for her to get some clothes because she can't stand wearing Robin's stuff anymore. Robin kind of goes along with it, grabbing her shoes, but then she pauses, turns back and points at them, asking if they're seriously all going to live together. Nina says yes, she doesn't need to worry, then grabs the protagonist and says she doesn't bite. Robin does not like that. She turns red, slams the door, then immediately opens it again, throws a pile of clothes at Nina, tells her to put on something decent, and storms off. The protagonist realizes that he's the one stuck in the middle of this whole mess here, and nobody really cares about what he says or doesn't say. While he's getting dressed, Nina keeps saying that he's the one responsible. She tugs on his shirt and tells him she's hungry, asking what he's gonna give her to eat. I'm not even gonna tell you, dude. No, I was gonna make a joke like something funny about how he was gonna feed her. But then he actually gave her milk, and if I said he's gonna give her some milk, it would sound weird, you know? So I dropped it. But that's literally what happened. Except the girl is, oh my. Girl, stop being a furry for the love of God. This weirdo is straight up eating out of a bowl. And the creepy guy there, Harry Potter's Dobby, is loving it. Red in the face like always. Good part, nice. Easy to feed, right? 12 liters of Parmalat and it lasts the whole month. But then she wants to know why the milk was so cold. He says it's because it was in the fridge. Obviously, since she's from 3,000 years ago, she has no clue what that even is. He's shocked. Only now is he starting to realize this girl has no idea where she is. So she explains she slept for millennia, and when she woke up, the world was unrecognizable. What she really wanted was a fresh fish. But she couldn't find one. Not even at the street markets. Even the little birds she used to hunt easily are gone. She asks where there's a mill, because that kind of place usually gets packed with birds. So the protagonist tells her to forget everything she knows about the world. Where she is has changed completely, and none of that exists anymore. They both go quiet. She hesitates, then says, it looks like she really is lost in this world. The protagonist stops to think too, but then he wants to know how she got that ice cream, how she's buying stuff, and she says she just took it, like anyone would, grabbed it and walked out. Clearly a natural-born thief. He's about to say that's not right, but she's standing there all awkward. Obviously, she genuinely doesn't even know what's right or wrong. Then out of nowhere, the guy turns bright red, starts fidgeting with his fingers and says they should go for a walk outside. She gets super excited, grabs his hand like they haven't already been walking around together this whole time, right? Come on guys, we're out here walking hand in hand. Can you believe this? What definitely can't happen is a cat showing up and meowing, and her dropping to all fours to compete with it in some kind of cat-off. A little later, the protagonist shows her a vending machine. She grabs a little Coke and drinks it like it's nothing. They're both looking out over the city from up high, and he's freaking out, telling her to be careful not to fall and die. Later, they're at a convenience store. The protagonist pays for a watermelon ice cream, and oh, come on, protagonist. How am I supposed to narrate this? He straight up smacks the ice cream into her face. I mean, that's what he does, isn't it? She has a mini freak out, gets startled, gives it a little lick, and then asks him to hold it for her. He helps her, and she starts eating the ice cream, all neatly, like she's got real talent for it. Then, while she's cooling off, someone walks into the store and the two of them hide. The blonde guy coming in is telling his friend that places like this, with no cashier anymore, self-checkout where you pay yourself, are the best for a date. Uh-oh, those two are starting something forbidden. The protagonist, who knows things only ever get worse, immediately plops his hat on her head, grabs her, and they bolt out of the store. Back home, he's relieved. At least nothing worse happened. But then Nina is taking off her coat, asking why they suddenly ran. On top of that, she got all dirty because that ice cream fell on her, and he dragged her along. So the protagonist tells her to take a shower, and then she starts showering. But how does a cat shower? By licking itself. The protagonist sees that, and before things get complicated again, he shoves her into the bathroom, turns on the shower, and gets out of there fast, hand on his chest exhausted, saying, "My God, this whole situation is a mess." Then he remembers the bathroom door doesn't lock. Better to stay far away from that place. While he's thinking that, Nina's in there all calm, saying hot water is a luxury. Outside, the neighborhood cats are sleeping, and after a while the shower's done. When Nina comes out, she makes this mischievous face at the protagonist by the fridge, but the next moment it's his turn to shower. But now I remember, didn't he say the lock doesn't work? Okay. I guess it all worked out because the shower's over, he comes out, and he's fine. Still alive. That's the good part. The bad part is, obviously Nina is now sleeping in his bed. He's pulling at his blanket and she asks what he's going to do. He says obviously he's going to set up camp on the floor, but she says that's crazy. Why would he sleep on the floor when they could sleep together? He freaks out, asking what she's suggesting, tells her to behave, then she turns into a little cat and falls asleep all cute on his arm. While this idiot was thinking dirty thoughts, she just wanted body heat, so she sleeps peacefully, normal, under the blanket. But of course when he wakes up, it's a different situation, right? The sucker lets out a scream while she wakes up all confused, asking why he got up so early. He says he has to go to school, and she's wrapping herself up in the blanket, saying sleeping is better. Then she remembers what school is, and gets excited, saying if he's going, she wants to be part of it too. The protagonist doesn't even understand what she means, and already imagines the chaos this menace is going to cause. If he takes her to school, his social life is over. While she's talking, Rabin is outside, furious, waiting for him. Finally, the protagonist shows up. Rabin gets all happy, until she sees Nina with him, and her expression changes. She wants to know why this girl is always stuck to him. And Nina is yelling, saying she'll wait for the protagonist at home so they can sleep together. While he's standing there not even understanding what she's talking about, he tells her to just stay home and behave. But from her face, it's obvious that's not happening. She turns into a cat and takes off. At school, the protagonist is wondering how he's supposed to find those girls from all the different zodiac signs. The problem is he can't just give up. Not only will the girls suffer like Rabin, but he'll die too. He stops in front of a door, sighs, opens it slowly, and sees the classroom is calm. Okay, looks like nothing weird. He goes in, tosses his backpack on the desk, and then the teacher announces that all the bullies went to the hospital. Everyone starts whispering. She slams the desk, telling them to shut up, but he's confused. What do you mean they went to the hospital? Woojin thinks it's karma. You know, if you do bad, eventually you get bad back. The day is calm, and the protagonist is thinking that if he were a protagonist, this would be a romance story. His life was way too peaceful. But now it's time to meet another troublemaker. He forgot to return the library books, so he goes there, puts them on the counter, and then the woman, bam, touches his hand and something weird happens. What is that? Just a fingertip touch, and the girl turns red. Then she looks and sees he was reading a bunny book. When he notices, he tries to explain that he really likes animals. That's all. But she goes, I know, uh-oh, and she reveals she's seen him tons of times in the biology section. The protagonist realizes she really did know, because he's always grabbing animal books. Maybe he should read something more intellectual to impress women. The girl looks like she wants to say something. She finds the books she's all read, and then she tells him to leave. There are more people in line yelling at him. The guy gets out of there fast while she just stays there with that intense look. But in the middle of the rush, bam, he bumps into Rabin. He apologizes, and then he sees it's her, and she immediately asks if the idiot forgot to look where he was going. He's all awkward. While she asks if he's seen anyone suspicious, any other Zodiac people, whatever. He's kind of saying he still doesn't have any leads, until she grabs his arm and says this is hopeless. She's going to have to help. It's just a touch, and the guy turns bright red. But also, come on, these wide-hip girls grabbing my boy all the time, it's rough. And she says she'll make sure he doesn't slack off on the job. Walking around the school, she says whoever awakened their abilities probably has major physical talent. So they're by the courts watching. And if I'm not mistaken, that one holding the basketball is the monkey, isn't she? Plus there's another one hydrating, showing off that artist talent. Then Rabin notices there are a lot of weird people at school. Meanwhile, the protagonist is having a full-on episode, everything going black and white, hand on his chest, heart hurting. She tries to hold him so he doesn't fall, but he plays it off, saying he's going to the nurse's office. But Rabin isn't dumb. She already knows something's going on. Meanwhile, in another part of the school, people are asking what happened to the gang. I think Regina, from the beginning, is asking if it's true. It was a bike accident. Rabin is just listening, when suddenly, dude, one of the tough guys goes flying, and that girl, who I think is the library one, walks past Rabin. Cut to the nurse's office. The protagonist is a total mess, but wow, this nurse is going to kill more patients than she saves. Look at this lab coat on the floor, full lips, and she's coming closer to him. Hey, I was joking, nurse. I didn't think you were actually playing that game. She's hovering over our guy like a drone, checking him, saying the appointment isn't over. She says she has to check the heartbeat in a certain area. She's going to show him. She tells him to stay calm, but the guy is about to have a heart attack. That's what's happening. Before that, though, we go back a few moments when the kid was walking down the hallway and seeing everything all smeared. Before that, we go back a bit more. The hallway was calm, until suddenly it wasn't. Everything spinning. The protagonist with chest pain. That's when he went into the nurse's office to ask for help. But the poor guy didn't know he was walking into a seriously dangerous place. He gets all embarrassed, turns his face away, apologizes, but obviously the attacker wasn't going to stop. He's wondering if he's seeing things because he knows the crazy stuff happening to him, when suddenly, bam, her hand lands on his back. With that half-closed look, she asks if the pain is in his chest. He's there with his hand, and she says he doesn't need to worry. She'll take care of him. She knows exactly what he has. He can relax. The protagonist goes to the chair, but she asks what he thinks he's doing. He's supposed to sit on the little bed. He doesn't get it. This nurse is unique, let's say. But fine. He goes, sits on the bed, and she comes close again. Then she tells him to take off his shirt so she can see his chest, to check if it's something with his heart or whatever. He awkwardly obeys, and then she puts her finger there and says the analysis is finished. The resonance spell was working. What's happening is his body isn't used to divine power. She starts climbing the mountain while the protagonist has no idea what's going on, but he's already pinned. He says it's hard to breathe, but she says he's lucky. Dude, hold on, this just got bad. The girl pulls out a snake tail, slit pupils. She says now he's going to disappear real quick. Oh no. All this adventure just for her to almost kill my boy. She smacks him with her tail, and not the kind he likes. The guy looks, freaks out. Meanwhile, in the hallways, we see a girl taking one to the chin. The other guy with orange hair looks confused, goes after the girl I think is from the library, but then the guy activates something in his hand and slams a paw strike into the other guy's chest. Another one comes from behind, but she glances sideways, pulls out a little goat horn, grabs his neck, and throws him into the wall. One furious glare, the dude passes out, and she still goes in to stomp him while he begs for help. But she doesn't care. She just tells him to pay for what he did and starts stomping the poor guy. Meanwhile, Rabin is trying to call the protagonist, but he's being attacked somewhere else in the school, and his scream echoes. Rabin jumps, drops her phone, it hits the floor, and the horned girl walks up, asking who she is and what she's doing there. Back to the tail smack scene. The protagonist falls to the floor, and the snake girl is threatening him, saying their little game is only going to hurt a tiny bit. The protagonist doesn't even want to hear it. He throws the door open and sprints down the hallway yelling for help. He spots a small room with the door open, slips inside and hides, praying that this nightmare will just pass by. Yeah, no chance. She's still got that huge tail, and she's still dangerous. It's like she's got wall hacks. She instantly knows exactly where he's hiding. And then she smiles. Right away he gets this weird chill. He drops to the floor at the exact moment that tail whips past him again, barely missing. The way it punches into the wall, he's sure of one thing. If that had hit his head, he'd be dead. The snake stares him down and says this is where he dies. He has no idea how he's supposed to dodge, but when the next attack comes, Robert shows up and saves him. The big-tail nurse is furious. She got interrupted, but Robert grabs the boy's arm and takes off running. She demands to know why he's shirtless and what was going on. He explains that the nurse told him to take his clothes off and sit on the bed. Robert's shaking him in anger, but then she admits she saw something dangerous and messed up too. But Robert's fast, and still, the queen of that tail lands a hit on her leg and yanks her back. She flings her up, leaves her hanging upside down, and the snake celebrates, saying she's about to strike. And then what is that? She licks her and then bites. Robert's hand starts trembling. The protagonist tries to help, but the rabbit spirit is already twisting out of her body, all warped. The nurse catches it midair and says he's gotten a little stronger, but he's still just a snack. She says goodbye to the rabbit competitor when someone smashes through the window and Dam comes flying in with a kick right into her mouth and blows the tail monster back. When the protagonist looks, it's her. Nina showed up to save the day. Full parkour mode, she spins in again and lands another heavy kick. The protagonist stares, and Nina says she finally found him. He's too confused, wondering where she even got that uniform. Meanwhile, Rabin is completely drained. She tries to get up, but she passes out for real. The protagonist starts to explain what happened, but then the teacher is getting back up, and now that he's noticing she looks kind of pregnant, Nina explains the cursed snake absorbed the rabbit's power, but she tells him not to worry, she'll handle it. She snaps her fingers and charges in, and the protagonist thinks maybe they still have a chance. He's seen videos online, Cats have way better reaction time than snakes. Yeah, before he can even finish that thought, Nina gets launched backward and slams into the ground. Now it makes sense. The teacher looks bigger because her skirt stretched to hide that massive tail. She says nobody's leaving alive. Nina immediately tells the protagonist to carry the rabbit and get out. He throws Rabin over his shoulder and bolts. Somehow the snake isn't following. While running, he demands Nina explain what's going on. She says it's divine power. But right then, they almost get clipped by another tail strike. He tells her to make it make sense. Divine power is energy from heaven and earth, basically the life source for all creatures. In their world where they come from, that energy is infinite. But here on Earth, if they're not strong, they basically can't recharge. And if their counter hits 0, they lose all the life force they have. So the protagonist asks how they're supposed to save Rabin. Nina says the easiest way is to steal energy from another spirit, exactly like the snake did to the rabbit. That's why Rabin passed out. She's completely empty. There's also a slow way to recover little by little, but that takes hours. They're still running and end up back at the tool room. Everything always ends up in that place. But the wide-hipped monster shows up and smashes through the entire wall. Everyone gets thrown back. Nina goes flying. The protagonist crashes and she hits the wall hard. He asks if Nina's okay. She says she's alive, just not in one piece. The giant snake moves closer, and Nina tells him to run while she distracts it. Then she adds that the snake's plan is probably to devour Wu Jin because he's the judge. As judge, he has a ton of divine energy, and the snake would become a supreme creature fast. The protagonist says if he has energy, he'll give it to them, until Nina explains that if he does that, he dies instantly. He realizes he's basically useless, while Nina steps forward alone, saying if he gets caught, the whole tournament ends right there. She goes in solo, dodges the tail, tries to slash, but the scales don't even scratch. The protagonist uses that moment to scoop Rabin into his arms and run. He leaves Nina behind, taking the hit for them. Nina thinks she's fine until a tail strike comes from behind, but her feline instincts kick in, and she dodges again. Then the tail twists like it's going to catch her no matter what. And then, yeah, that scene that would be banned in like 78 countries. What is this, artist? You can't be doing that. How am I supposed to describe this? The snake coils around the girl and squeezes hard, and Nina bites her. The snake laughs, saying she's acting like the rats she hunts. She tells her to stop biting and squeezes even tighter, saying she's going to break her bones. And now it's time to feed on that energy. Another bite to the neck while the protagonist flinches, and suddenly the snake throws Nina right at him. The snake is having the time of her life, licking her lips, saying she's overflowing with divine energy. Nina, in the protagonist's arms, demands to know why he didn't run when she created an opening. He really is an idiot. Then he looks down and sees it. Both the rabbit girl and the cat girl are passed out. The snake is glowing with green light. The boy is wrecked, realizing nothing is working because he's weak. And then an explosion of light fills the gym. When the smoke clears, the women are gone. Only the giant snake is left. From far away, you can see the creature's silhouette, laughing, telling him not to be so sad. He's going to be complete too, peacefully swallowed whole. She lunges to bite him and he's just drowning in despair. He gives up. Then out of nowhere, he apologizes and nothing happens. And then the boy starts glowing. A pillar of light shoots up, light spilling everywhere, the whole city lighting up. His arm is stretched out and the snake just freezes, confused. What is this? The protagonist just started a full Giga Chad transformation or what? He throws up a yin-yang defense, and of course chapter ends, and we jump to the next one. Right as the snake attacks, he hesitates. Everything shines, and he forms a barrier like he's got insane swagger. The snake starts trembling, and even Nina is bugging out, trying to figure out what kind of power that is. The protagonist stands there with his arm extended, and the snake can't do anything. He tells her to go back where she came from, and suddenly another pillar of light rises, and that symbol on his chest appears over the entire school. Then the scene changes. He opens his eyes and sees a little butterfly, a moon. He's in the middle of an abandoned forest, wondering if he's dreaming. He hears footsteps behind him, turns, and sees a woman who looks like an older Nina. He tries to talk to her, but she walks right through him. Completely confused, he follows. She crouches in a bush and watches a family enjoying life from far away. Here comes the drama. You thought this story was only going to be about thick thighs? It's yin-yang. Sometimes it's thighs, sometimes it's tragedy. Obviously, she was supposed to have a family. Someone notices her hiding in the brush and calls out, and she runs. The man chases her, grabs her arm, and she starts crying, asking why all of this is happening. The protagonist doesn't really get it. Maybe he's crying too because he doesn't have a family either. After all that aura formation, the protagonist wakes up crying in a bed, Rabin on one side and the nurse on the other. What? He sits up fast because the other one is wearing that famous invisible outfit. He's breathing hard, and when he looks over, the cat girl is stretching the snake, twisting her up, squeezing her. Yeah, that's what's happening. He asks what happened. Why the nurse who tried to kill him is now sleeping peacefully. He still remembers that 10 minutes ago she was a giant snake. Nina explains it was a kind of possession, berserker mode. The spirit inside her body took full control and the human fell asleep. Basically, the real nurse at that moment was just an object inside the creature. But a spirit always carries the dark desires of the person hosting it. The protagonist is confused. Wait, so being a giant snake was the nurse's desire? Nina says they'll never know. The only thing she's sure of is that the woman's soul was too weak to handle the snake's ego. Nina's furious, saying that monster almost ruined the entire event, so the protagonist asks how they solved it. Nina remembers the boy with the white hair, looking ridiculously cool. Even the snake spirit wants to know what kind of cheat that was. Sorry, warrior, that was main character privilege. Nina tells the protagonist he resolved it using a power he shouldn't even know how to use yet, but it's connected to the judge's power. While spinning the little snake around, she says that to keep the rules of the game, the judge sometimes gets certain abilities. Now the protagonist is even more confused, so he really does have something special. While the snake suffers, he says he's at least relieved everyone's safe. Nina asks what he means. Safe? Doesn't he see the situation? He panics and asks what else happened. She says one of them had her power completely drained and the other almost lost her body to a divinity. Worst case, neither of them might wake up. Then the little snake apologizes, saying she arrived on Earth recently and got way too excited and ended up attacking innocent people. The protagonist still doesn't get it, and the snake explains that for gods, divine power is basically a drug like crack. Once they start consuming it, they get addicted. Woojin asks how they're supposed to fix this. Nina walks up, puts her hand on the scroll, and says the solution is right there with them. The biggest energy bank is in that room, but he remembers they already warned him. If he gives up his energy, he dies, and he's not trying to do that. Nina explains that only happens if he gets completely devoured. What they can do is use a container, and only part of his energy will be drained because the container has a limit, so he won't die in the process. The protagonist gets excited, so he can help Raven. How does he do it? He tells her to explain right now so he can start the transfer. But of course, the method is a little more connected than anyone expected. The cat girl clings to him and says she'll explain how the transfer works. But she was messing with him, nothing that intense. It's just holding hands and staying close. As soon as he touches Rabin, her little rabbit starts glowing again, recharging. He realizes he's going to have to stay pressed up against both of them for a while. And now he's suffering again, back on the bed. The closer the better, so both of them are basically on top of him. He wants room to breathe, but it's over. He's getting crushed because the other one says she fought hard and wants her energy back too. Yeah, this guy's life is rough. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Haiji's mom, the foot girl's mom, remember? The one who put the sock on his face at the beginning, is banging on her door telling her to come out. Haiji is inside eating donuts, getting messages from people asking if she's really sick. She just keeps eating, smiling with pure spite, saying she's screwed. How is she supposed to go to school like this? She got the pig spirit and got chubby. Then the scene switches back to the school where everything happened. A human with black and white hair is staring at all the destruction. He puts his hands together, creates an explosion in the sky. Lightning, clouds. Is he rebuilding everything? Hard to tell. It'd be depressing if he's one of the 12 zodiac spirits. I thought it was 12 women. Don't start trolling me, artist. Back with the protagonist, he's under all three of them, exhausted, because while everyone's draining his energy, he's getting weaker. But in his little pixel heart, it feels like he can see how much energy Rabin still needs to recover. He also remembers the fight and how useless he was. He really needs to prepare better. He tries to get up, but they're all stuck to him, lazily draining his energy. They're spinning around up there, getting way too close. Hey, what's going on? What is happening here? And when that lightning from the guy at school strikes, Rabin wakes up and sees the other girl with her mouth right up on the boy's face. She lets out a scream and jumps up, demanding to know what's going on. While Nina wakes up all lazy and stretches out on top of him again. Rabin's about to say more, but then she notices that damn nurse was there too, and asks what she's doing there. The nurse stands up wearing the invisibility outfit, and everybody freaks out at once. The whole house erupts in shouting. The artist drops a super dangerous illustration before the next chapter, and we're back. Everyone in this place is wearing Rabin's outfits, plus one more bunny girl. And of course, the nurse has no idea what happened and is asking them to explain how she even ended up there. They give her a recap of the snake fight, the bunny, all that stuff. The protagonist telling her to join the tournament by activating her power, and the little snake off to the side apologizing. Then the snake says she feels some kind of connection with the little snake. Way too many snakes in this story. She pets her, says she believes everything, and apologizes. But Rabin tells them to remember the important part. If they don't finish this tournament in 100 days, nobody's ever going to have a normal life again. They finally find out the snake's name, Hoi Jin, and now the nurse is kind of confused as she realizes how serious this really is, and she swears she won't leave the students to deal with this alone. They get excited because instead of scolding them or not believing them, she says she's going to support them. But then she steps closer and opens the protagonist's shirt to look at the glowing thing in the middle of his chest, and on the marking you can already see it now says Snake and Rabbit. She's curious, running her fingers over it, saying that's where the details are going to show up. She apologizes for being nosy, and the tomato head, red as always, says it's fine. Suddenly she panics, saying she's late for school, but he reminds her it's Saturday, and she flops onto the bed, relieved. Now she's thinking, wondering if everyone at school is really possessed. Nina stretches and says it'd be better if the enemies just showed up on their own. That's when Rabin says she remembers something from yesterday. The protagonist asks what, and she says she doesn't know all the details, but there was a girl with little horns choking some guy. Looks like she's the one who's been taking out the delinquents. Nina says that once again it's going to be someone with a nasty temper, and the fact she's been wiping out those delinquents makes it pretty clear the host has some dark urges. She steps toward Rabin and asks if she saw the person's face, and Rabin pushes her back, telling her not to get so close. Rabin only says it looked like the person had square glasses. Then the scene switches to a rainy place, and there she is, square glasses, a mask, and who knows what she's doing. She was putting cardboard on the ground when suddenly the chubby girl walked in. Oh, it's the girl who's been eating everything, right? Trying to survive now that she's starving, while some kid is wiping down shelves, and she's furious, because ever since she got chubby like this, the more she eats, the hungrier she gets. Everything looks irresistible. She throws a pile of food down to pay, and the cashier is just staring. The chubby girl snaps at her to stop looking at her, and hurry up and ring everything up because she's taking it to eat. She's already paid like 200,000. Swipes her card, yanks the bag, knocks stuff over on the way out. Umbrellas end up on the floor, and she leaves. Square Glasses is just watching, then slams the table in anger. She stares straight at us like, found you. Back with the protagonist, he's thinking Square Glasses, trying to remember someone who looks like Diabolus and wears something like that. The two girls are almost arguing, and the tall nurse steps between them and tells them to calm down. Then Robin says she hasn't showered since yesterday. Yeah, she's gross. She grabs her phone, which is vibrating, and sees she missed 43 calls from her mom. She instantly knows she's about to get the legendary scolding. Meanwhile, Nina is just watching. Her mom asks where she is and what she's doing. Robin lies and says she's at the protagonist's house, nothing serious, and her mom just tells her not to do so much so early. Robin yells so everyone can hear that it's not like that. But a little later, the teacher and the whole group are leaving. Our boy waves goodbye to his harem after an intense night with 4 girls in his room. As always, Nina keeps bothering him, shaking him, saying she's hungry. She wants this, she wants that. Robin watches it all and bam, she shuts the door. Out in the hallway, she's confused, wondering if she's jealous. And then she remembers waking up and seeing those mouths way too close. She's so mad she can't even explain it. Like, is she basically in love? She doesn't finish the thought. And that cat inside knows exactly what Robin is feeling. She's doing it on purpose. This Zodiac girl is competing in everything. Before the protagonist can even notice, Nina grabs him again and tells him to make something for them to eat. Bad news, the pantry is empty. He has to go to the corner store. He asks if she wants to come, but she's on the couch acting dramatic, saying she's tired. She hates rain, so she'd rather stay there. The protagonist scratches his head and says fine, she should stay home and behave. He's going to the store in this downpour. So off to the store in the flood. The city is soaked, and he can feel the rain is way heavier than he expected. Then, no joke, there's this huge creature coming toward him. A hard bump, umbrella flying up, groceries all over the ground. The girl immediately crouches down and starts picking everything up. What was that? She bolted and ran again. It sounded like she yelled a quick sorry without meaning to. The protagonist noticed it sounded like Hygiene's voice, but the body was completely different. He recognizes those feet, and they're super swollen. And the kid's got a million IQ too. Since he remembers the snake changed appearance and Robin changed too, maybe if she was one of the people who got a Zodiac, she changed as well. He takes off running after her. But what he doesn't know is there's someone in a wet shirt watching too. Square Glasses, the real one. Ji-yoon, who the protagonist is probably already guessing is the sheep girl based on what Robin said. The girl Robin warned was beating up all the delinquents at school. Right away, the protagonist remembers. Square Glasses. That's what Robin said. It has to be her. Meanwhile, the little piggy is sprinting like crazy with her snacks. She's panicking. Looks back, wondering who's following her. She feels it, but doesn't see anyone. So she runs again. Then something steps. She hears footsteps, turns again, and still sees nothing. She screams for the creep to stop following her. Who was this jerk who wouldn't stop bothering her? Right behind her since the store. And then the footsteps in the rain keep coming. It's her, the wet shirt girl. She shows up already transformed, saying she finally found the queen of bullies. Right, Haim used to be a bully, and now this girl wants to beat her up. But Piggy's big and still fast, keeps running. The problem is, I don't know if she can outrun the sheep, who's walking calmly like she's sure she'll catch her. So many nutrients. Jumps into an elevator in desperation, sees her in the reflection of her eyes. Turns door closes at the last second. She's trying to catch her breath, but then she feels something behind her and falls forward in fear. She begs them not to kill her, to stay away, crying, eyes squeezed shut. But who is it? It's the protagonist, holding out his hand. Come on, Piggy, let me help. And look at the little sheep drawing the artist throws at us. In the story, she's not that strong. Next chapter, in the scene, the protagonist helps her up and asks if she's really Haemuge. The artist went hard there, the protagonist suffering. Here, I'll help you. But she hides her face and says no, it's not her. He says it doesn't make sense to keep hiding, but she yanks her arm away and runs again. She starts typing like crazy, hits the door button. The protagonist rushes in and reaches out. She slams the door on his arm and starts punching his hand. That's brutal. He tells her to stop, shocked by how strong she is. She's cursing him out, calling him every name, telling him to give up, that he's a loser, all that. But the protagonist, being the good guy, says he only followed her because he was worried. He heard someone's been hunting the tough guys at school. And when they bumped into each other in that alley and everything fell, he noticed someone was following her. At first he didn't realize it was Haim because she's huge, but then he figured it out. She tells him to shut up, she's not huge. While he's being dramatic about how much his arm hurts, he tells her to stop, then he pulls the handle himself. She loses her strength and falls on top of him, nearly kills him. But when they hit the floor, she's completely exposed, apologizing with the ears out. Now he's more sure than ever it's her, and she starts crying, hitting the floor, saying she doesn't know what she's going to do. Overnight, she got chubby out of nowhere. Since a certain day, a light appeared in the sky, and then she started getting insanely hungry. Some mystical thing. The kind of excuse every chubby person dreams of having. I was walking around and lightning hit me and I got fat. But then the elevator starts going down, meaning someone wants to come up, and she yanks him inside, closes the door, locks the handle. And the protagonist remembers, just like that little snake was insanely dangerous, there could be other people who got powers too, and they might not be nice about it. So he asks Hae-Mujin if she got any power besides getting huge. She puts a hand on her belly and says the only thing that changed is she can eat enough for like 3 people. She clings to him asking why he's so calm, while the protagonist realizes Hae-Mujin hasn't noticed the power she got. The plan basically would be to get her into the tournament fast so she can awaken like Rabin did. Then finally, she'd be able to use those powers. But at the same time, he's thinking about Jihin and how much she changed. She used to be a calm girl, and now she's all dark. He needs to find out if that's really Jihin or if she's being possessed by her spirit. And right then, the doorbell rings. Hae-Mujin goes to look and only sees the other girl there with a killer face, telling her to open the door. Piggy stumbles back in shock and the sheep slams the door from the other side. The protagonist realizes that this time Rabin is at home, and Nina also doesn't want to go out in the rain, so no help is coming. Hae-Mujin runs off screaming for help. The protagonist says he has a solution, but she slams the bedroom door in his face. He bangs on it, telling her to open up while she's in shock, saying she's calling the police instead. He'd better disappear. She's desperate in the corner of the room, crying, saying she can't take it anymore. She doesn't know what to do. Then we see a flashback of her going to talk to the bullies, but now she's screwed. Before she was the foot queen, now she's the big piggy. People didn't even believe it was her. Now that she was fat, they told her straight up she was done. She was only useful for being pretty in the group, nothing else. The only value she had got thrown in the trash. She clenches her fists in rage and makes a little mini earthquake. Poor girl cried all the way home that day, and now back at home she's crying again. But the protagonist tells her she needs to listen to what he has to say. He promises he has a solution to this nightmare. The room goes quiet for a second, and it sounds like she's about to open the handle. But then she asks the obvious, why is he trying to help someone who treated him like garbage? What's that about? She put her foot in his face. He liked it. Sock on his head. Weirdly, he loved it. And now she's feeling awful for all the cruel stuff she did to him. Thinking about what she's done, she suddenly takes off her hoodie and opens the door, asking if he still considered her a friend. The protagonist doesn't really answer, while she says all the friends she had either didn't recognize her or the ones who did just abandoned her. Yeah, while you two are in this romantic drama, someone is destroying the whole door. And then this pink energy starts to appear and she's confused, trying to figure out what it is. Out of nowhere, the main guy says it's hard to find someone that pretty with pink hair. Oh, so you're here to flirt, huh? You think your bed can handle all that? Then he says he might have figured out who she is by her smell. Yeah, that made it worse. She straight up decks him in the stomach. But while they're messing around, the little goat girl is out there smashing the door, about to wreck everything. The footsteps in the hallway suddenly go quiet because she pulls this Michael Jackson moonwalk move, gets ready and powers up those huge horns. At the same time, the main guy's like, wait, what is this? It's stuck to the ceiling. He hears Hae-Jin getting closer. A circle appears over the two of them, and he yells that the little pig is joining the tournament. The other girl's just standing there, not really getting why he's calling her a pig. Then, all of a sudden, the room lights up, and a spirit comes out of her body. Literally a cute little pig. And it even compliments the main guy, saying he really is an elite judge. Hae-Jin, though, is freaked out by this weird pig that just came out of her. Then, when it goes back into her body, there's another flash. The main guy gets blinded for a second, and at that exact moment, Ji-ham breaks the door down and storms into the house. She gets blinded too, but immediately throws a punch anyway. Except it calms down because Hae-Jin blocks it, and with one heavy-handed hit she slams her into the wall. The main guy is shocked by how strong the pig is, and the story explains that pigs are insanely strong. Most of them only have about 13% body fat, and the rest is basically pure muscle. So if Hae-Jin's weight jumped to around 100 kilos, right then she'd have ridiculous strength. And she follows up with another kick, blasting the sheep girl into the wall again. Seriously, sheep girl, what did you do to deserve getting wrecked like this? She tries to get up, but now it's bad. Hae-Jenny was already loud and aggressive, and now she's got strength too. So she's about to beat her even harder. Then she's suddenly all slim again, back to toe queen mode, and throws a punch into the wall. But the sheep girl isn't weak either. She manages to vanish and reappear to the side. Meanwhile, the main guy is kind of enjoying the fight. A girl fight is wild, until both of them look at him like, is someone seriously enjoying this a little too much? Even so, the exchange still manages to throw Hae-Jin back, while Ji-hin the sheep just stands there. When she notices the main guy, she starts acting weird. She jumps, does this backward spinning flip, lands on the railing and stares him down. He doesn't get it and tells her to calm down, but she just jumps down from upstairs and runs away. He watches all those acrobatics, wondering why the second she saw him, she suddenly bolted. But then, now that he saved another waifu, it's reward time, aka more crying on his clothes. He grabs Hae-Jin, pins her against the wall, looks her over, and goes, wait, what is this? Oh my god, since she was wearing those huge clothes, now everything's hanging off and slipping down. Hae-Jin immediately thinks he's being a creep trying to sneak a look. Same old argument. Then they notice the house is totally wrecked, and outside, it's still raining. Meanwhile, Nina is sprawled out on the couch. She hears someone coming to the door and assumes it's the main guy bringing food, but it's a different kind of delivery. He brought another girl home. You'd think Nina would be sad, but she's excited, saying he finally found the pig. Now Hyjin is furious, wanting to know why there's another woman in his house waiting for him. And now the bimbo finally realizes he really does have another woman there. So now the two of them are demanding to know what the other one is doing in his house. Hyjin even says the rumors about Rabin living with him were all true. Nina doesn't care about any of that, she just wants to eat, trying to open the box. The main guy looks around and realizes it's a total mess. A little later they sit down, and now he has to explain the whole competition thing to Hyjin. He's exhausted, he has to explain this to everyone. Hyjin isn't even that interested in the details. What she wants is to know why they're dragging her into this at all. Right then, the pig spirit pops out to lecture her. And when it comes out telling her to calm down, she instantly gets chubby again, and immediately starts hitting it, ordering it to get back in her body. Once it goes back, she turns into this thick, heavy version of herself again, and she starts worrying what happens if that pig pops out of her at random. Later, Rabin asks if all the hosts are really going to be from their school. The main guy brings up Jikwon to Library Girl, saying he's sure she's the sheep. But she's totally different now. Before, she was calm and smiled gently. Then again, he didn't see those little side smirks she used to do. Rabin says she doesn't know if that's true. Maybe this is her real personality. Then Nina stands up and says that girl might be their biggest problem, someone they can't tell whether she's being controlled by the spirit or if she's genuinely cruel. Then Nina thinks for a second, smirks, and tells the thick pig girl that she's got a plan to deal with it. She says she's noticed the sheep's targets were always people who messed with Woojin. Everyone she hunts seems to be someone who bullied him. Hyjin gets awkward and apologizes. The blonde girl says she's not accepting that bullying him was wrong. But Nina cuts in and says what matters is they have a way to lure that girl out. Just use him. He's going to be the sheep's shepherd. He's confused. Why does it have to be him again? Because Nina explains, obviously Jaeyeon is obsessed with him. All he has to do is find a way to get her alone. Take her somewhere secluded like an alley. That hits him because he's never even said hi to her. Rabin gets worried the plan sounds dangerous. Aren't they putting Woojin's life at risk? Then Nina says they're being way too relaxed. They're forgetting there are only 90 days left, or Woojin dies and everyone stays stuck with these spirits forever, and the spirits will take over. That's when the main guy remembers the obvious. His time is limited. Nina tells them not to forget they can't fight each other. First, they need to focus on bringing everyone into the tournament. A second of silence. Then Hyjin raises her hand and says she'll join because she wants payback on that damn sheep. And she's also furious that she keeps randomly getting fat. Then the topic changes when she realizes her parents are calling, and she gets chewed out. They're complaining they got home and everything's destroyed, so she jumps up and runs off to explain. Rabin points out something weird. They still haven't been caught by any authorities. Like when that snake showed up, if any camera had captured that, the military would already be involved. But while they're having this serious discussion, Nina is rolling around on the floor, not caring. Hyjin is still arguing on the phone. And the funny part is that since she's a troublemaker, she starts yelling that she's not coming home today. She's sleeping at a friend's place. Bye. Then she turns to the main guy, calls him a loser, and asks if there's room in his bed. Rabin tells her to stop acting so bold in her house, while the main guy tells everyone to calm down. Nina just wants to eat. Then Rabin's mom opens the door and sees everyone together, and they all say hi. Luckily, nothing looked too suspicious, so she just serves the food, and Nina goes to eat her cat food. Her mom says they need to give her a heads up when they're bringing that many friends over. She apologizes and says that's all she could make. Hyjin says it's fine, while Rabin jokes they're going to need a lot to feed the pig. Hyjin doesn't even care about the insult. She just starts eating and says sorry. But to mess with Rabin, since her mom is right there, she says Rabin is always glued to Woojin every day, acting all sweet. Rabin turns red. The main guy doesn't want to deal with it, and after a while the plates are clean. Rabin is impressed. She eats a little and gets kind of chubby, while Hyjin ate everything and is still skinny. When her parents called, they said she'd have to sleep at her aunt and uncle's place, and now Rabin asks if she really has to go. Hyjin says yeah, that's what they said, but she really doesn't want to. The idea of being compared to her cousins all day is awful. Rabin tells her to call a friend somewhere she can stay, but Hyjin says she doesn't have any friend like that, like her and Woojin, who can share a room every day. Someone off to the side says she can stay the night there. Hyjin says she doesn't want to sleep in Woojin's room, until Rabin says she can sleep in her room. Like 1 minute she's asking to share his bed, the next she doesn't want to. It's confusing. But she gets emotional that Rabin is willing to share her room. The main guy picks up Nina and takes her somewhere. Meanwhile, the other two go brush their teeth in the bathroom. Rabin sees Hyjin just standing there like an idiot and offers her a toothbrush. In the bedroom, Hyjin starts laying a blanket on the floor, but Rabin tells her to come to the bed. Hyjin gets shy about it, but night falls and there she is. Suddenly Hyjin sits up and blurts out that damn loser sleeps with that cat girl every night. Rabin says yes, so what? Even if she looks human, she has a cat's soul. Hyjin says guys don't care about stuff like that. Rabin says she doesn't either. She doesn't care what they do, just let her sleep. Hyjin is confused. She says she thought Rabin liked him, but Rabin tells her to shut up already, to stop acting like everything is normal, because a lot happened. She must be scared too, just like Rabin was. Hyjin finally calms down and out of nowhere starts gently rubbing Rabin's back, saying she thought that, Rabin turns red too, and Hyjin says she thought Robin was just an annoying class rep. So the night passes, morning comes, and the pig girl is sprawled out everywhere. The main guy comes in, waking them up. I didn't know they literally lived in the same house. I thought they just lived nearby. But he can actually access her room? Hyjin freaks out, wakes up screaming, and a little later she asks why Robin got up so early. Robin says it's because that damn pig had her foot in Robin's face all night. Then Hyjin gets a call from her mom and has to go home. The main guy says, well, at least the house is cleaned up now so she can go back. What she wants to know is why they have to hold hands. He says it's to recharge their divine powers so they don't run out of energy. Nina says if they'd slept cuddling, they wouldn't have to do this. Then yeah, someone filed a police report, so they're going to have to go explain what happened. Not they, though. Hyjin, she storms off furious, while Nina says it's better if she comes back at night to recharge. But when the two of them turn to leave, Hyjin calls the main guy loser. Bright red, she thanks him for saving her. She mumbles it so quietly he can't hear, and when he asks, she says she's not repeating it and runs off. The main guy, being clueless as always, doesn't get it. Next scene, I think they're getting to school, and now he's literally carrying Nina in his arms, and the 12-girl harem keeps forming. Because now Robin remembers what the pig girl said, that she likes the loser. When they get to school, they're confused. The gym that got completely destroyed in the fight with the snake woman is totally intact. Nina immediately says she thinks she knows what happened. But first they should talk to the teacher. The main guy, though, is wondering when G1, the sheep, is going to show up. And yeah, while he's walking along, she's watching him from the side, full of rage. Next chapter, it's her walking into the classroom and sitting down. And yeah, he's got her cornered now. Watching her crouch down, he says she's the same as always. Exactly the girl he knew. Then we see a few hours earlier, everyone gathered in the snake woman's room, Hoijin, to talk about how that sheep had the nerve to come to school like nothing happened. Robert asks what they're going to do. Are they doing that plan, the operation, where they use Woojin? Nina says she guarantees it. Meanwhile, he's still unsure, saying maybe it'd be better to talk to her first and understand what's going on. Everyone's shocked because obviously that could have gone wrong and it was insanely risky. And Hyjin asks why he's going that far for this girl. Just capture her and be done with it. The protagonist stops to think, since she came to school like normal, maybe there's some kind of trigger, something that makes her power lose control. Nina comes up behind him and says he's frustrating, but fine, since he wants to do it and he's the great judge, go handle it. She basically shoves him out and tells him to make a decision. He can't stop thinking it's weird that she'd come to school after causing so much trouble. He needed to understand why and make sure she doesn't lose control again. Maybe they could solve everything with a conversation, which would be way better than some plan that puts her at risk. Back to the moment he called out to her and she just stood there, kind of confused about why he was there. Then he realizes his talent for suddenly talking to a girl like this is literally zero. She sits down, asks if he's there to return a book, and he says no, it's about what happened over the weekend. She plays dumb, blushes a little, and goes, weekend, like she has no idea. He slams the desk and says he was there too, and he remembers. She went to Haiji's house, but then he finds it weird because she backed off saying he was getting too close. He apologizes and steps back, and then she awkwardly admits she's never talked to a boy from that close before. He notices she's strangely shy. Whatever condition she had before, it's clearly not the same now. Maybe he can push her into joining the competition, if he approaches it from that top-down angle. So he closes his eyes and asks to be excused while he moves in with both hands. But he bumps into this bunny-themed book. She sees it and stands up to grab it. But he's already reaching too, and the timing lines up perfectly. She was already struggling just with him being nearby. So imagine being that close. He's like a Naruto clone charging up a Rasengan, just cradling the spheres. And the worst part is, he's apologizing all freaked out while she's saying it's fine, but if he could maybe take his hands away and stop whatever ritual he's doing, that'd be great. He panics, yanks his arms back, and everyone's gathered around talking about how there's a pervert nearby. He tells them they can argue about it later. He's thinking his attempt was a total failure. And look at this artist drawing the little pig girl like some tiny demon. Come on. And speaking of that, right then back in the classroom, Hyjin shows up. The fake friends who don't actually care, drawn in black and white, are all like, we missed you, you were gone so long. She just makes excuses, saying she was kind of sick. But then the protagonist comes running, calls her over and says he's got a problem. He failed to talk to Jin Hanyo, and then all of Hyjin's friends are like, why is he talking to her like that? Why do they suddenly look weirdly close? Wasn't she the one who used to bully him? He tries to explain, but suddenly she grabs his head, calls him Jin Hunch, slams him into the wall. He asks what her problem is, and she tells him to hurry up and say what he came to say. I thought she was about to bully him. But he explains that he tried talking to Jin Han and it didn't work. She grabs his arm and tells him to be proud of himself. At least he tried. This is a good start. He's totally confused, like, I can't believe she's being this honest. He turns bright red, thanking her, while she says he's got insane courage to talk to that crazy older woman. But also, the protagonist is kind of a creep. She's stuck to him like ice, and he's staring from the high ground angle. He's abusing the high ground 100%. The class thinks it's weird they're so friendly, but Hyjin doesn't care. She says now that he's talked to her, things have started. He can try again later, and it'll be even easier, assuming he didn't do anything stupid. That's when he admits he cradled the spheres. Immediately she grabs his collar, demanding to know how it went from talking to that. He says he'll explain, but first he wants to know where Rebin is. White Hips turns around and says it looks like she went to some student council meeting or something. The scene cuts to the infirmary, where Nina is freaked out, asking if he seriously tried that on the sheep. He explains that since she was acting normal, he thought if he could get the sheep to join the game, everything would work out. Nina goes, "That doesn't sound that bad, so why did it fail?" He says maybe because he got too close too fast. He doesn't get it. Haijin just thinks it's exactly the loser talk she expected from him. But where's Rebin? Woojin, the little nurse, apologizes, but says she has to step out to the teacher's office too. Then the protagonist gets a message. It's Jihyun saying she needs to talk to him about what happened earlier. Can they meet behind the school? He tells everyone the Shepherd Boy operation isn't dead yet. Meanwhile, in the council room, the meeting is ending. Everyone's leaving and Rebin's thinking this stupid meeting took way longer than she expected. She checks her phone and sees the protagonist's message saying the sheep asked to meet him behind the school. She's impressed the loser actually pulled it off. She'd better go see what happens, but right then someone calls her. She turns around and no way. It's Jitha herself asking if she's the girl known as Bake Rebin. Rebin, confused, says yes, wondering why the girl who's supposed to be behind the school with the protagonist is here with her. And here comes the madness. Jitha her puts on that yonder face, steps closer and invites her to have a little talk in the library. Next chapter, it's the same request, but with that wicked expression and Rebin looking lost. At the same time, she's saying, yeah, sure. She's typing something out like, I don't even know if she's sending a voice message or typing behind someone's back. That's skill. Meanwhile, Nina and Haijin are sitting on the benches waiting, wondering where the sheep is and why she hasn't shown up. And worst of all, why is Nina so calm? Haijin grabs the protagonist and demands he answer, did that woman lie to him? What's going on? He checks his phone and sees a messed up message from Rebin, something about being on the way to the bookstore with the sheep. They're trying to figure it out, but Haijin instantly gets it and translates it. She yanks the protagonist and starts running, saying their plan was obviously exposed. Ji-yoon knows something. They ask how, and Haijin says that's why the text was all garbled. Rebin had to send it in a hurry. They get to the school and Haijin kicks the door in, sending stuff flying. The protagonist asks if Rebin's okay, but what the hell? The sheep is literally giving Rebin a kiss. That's not what he expected. He asks what they're doing, and when they became that kind of duo. But the kiss is way too intense. Rebin's eyes roll back and she collapses to the floor. The sheep smiles at Nina and immediately orders the pig to go after them too, then takes off running. Nina doesn't get why. Then she explains, the sheep stole Rebin's divine power. Yeah, but once it's stolen, it's stolen. Nina goes in to punch her, but the girl starts spinning up some kind of power, tons of Baphomet horns. Damn, it got serious fast. And she's always wearing that see-through shirt showing her bra. The protagonist asks if Rebin's okay and tries to recharge her battery. Rebin manages to stand up, saying she's not dead. But then she looks to the side. Look at the size of that woman. That's the final boss for real. Then we see what happened a few seconds earlier. Rebin asked what she could do for Ji-yoon, and Ji-yoon asked back what the problem was with Rebin's group. Rebin didn't get it. The sheep brought up the incidents happening at school. They've been trying to find the culprit, as far as she knows. Rebin, confused, asked why she thinks it has anything to do with them and what it has to do with her. Jihyun says it has everything to do with her because she's the culprit. Rebin's confused, why call her here just to confess out of nowhere? Jihyun says she knows Rebin was secretly watching last time. The clueless bunny realizes that day it wasn't only her who saw Jihyun. Rebin asks why she's doing this. Baphomet girl says she'll be direct, don't get in her way and stop protecting Hyeji. That girl never had anything to do with them anyway. It'd be better for everyone if a troublemaker like her got punished. Robert says Jihyun is clearly not okay right now, but since she already knows almost everything, it'll be easy to explain. So she lays it all out, the tournament of the 12 zodiacs, and each person being possessed by some weird spirit. They're looking after Hyeji because she's part of the competition too, and everyone thinks Jihyun, the sheep, is acting strange because she's been taken over by a spirit. Jihyun, confused, asks what this zodiac tournament even is. She stands up and slams the table, cutting Rabin off, saying Rabin is under some kind of illusion, and even if it were true, it still makes no sense to protect Hyeji. Robert says it doesn't matter, Jihyun should go talk to Ju to join the tournament, and everything will go back to normal. But Jihyun stands up, takes off her glasses and starts walking away while Rabin tells her to stop. Jihyun reaches the door and asks who said she's running away. She locks everything, turns around and says she wants both of them there. Rabin's supposed to be the hopping bunny, but she's terrified. She activates her big bunny ears and tries to run, but Jihyun rushes in, grabs her by the ear, and that's it. In a closed space, there's not much hopping you can do. Jihyun still wants to talk, saying she wants to understand why they're protecting Hyeji. Robin tries to explain that even if she doesn't think what Hyeji did before was good, and hitting the boy was wrong, there are other ways to deal with it. But Jihyun won't accept it, saying it's ridiculous for Robin to say that after seeing Woojin suffering right next to her. Robin doesn't get why she's bringing up Woojin now, but yells that even he wouldn't want things handled like this. Too late. The sheep doesn't like that and throws her onto the table, asking if Robin really thinks she knows Woojin that well. They might live in the same house and be close physically and emotionally, but Jihyun understands what he wants better. An artist, do you want me to focus on the fight? Stop drawing those curves like that. Then the sheep leans in by Robin's ear and asks what Robin thinks about Woojin. Doesn't she have any feelings for him? We get this weird image of Robin screaming from that angle with her ears being pulled, saying she and him are just friends, nothing more childhood friends. Jihyun yanks harder, throws her into the wall and says that's a relief, because she likes Woojin. Actually, she loves him. Yandere, huh? Some people are into that. Now Robin starts to understand why the bullies were really getting beaten up. Jihyun says she'll offer Robin something, since Robin doesn't like Woojin. She whispers in her ear telling her that if she accepts the deal she'll join the Zodiac without complaining. Robin asks what happens if she refuses. Jihyun says she won't stop destroying everyone until the whole school is gone. His friends, even the nurse, everyone will suffer. Robin says she'll think about it, but that's when Jihyun goes in for the kiss. And then yeah, now there's a punch. What happened? The girl falls on top of the protagonist. Now we're back with her transformed. Why is she drawn way better after she turns into a demon? She signals Shuj to Robert, telling her to think very carefully about the offer, and then she leaves. Robert just wants to understand what exactly this woman is planning. Then Nina and Hyeji show up asking if Robert's okay. And out of nowhere, Nina puts a hand on Robert's stomach like she's checking something, saying Robert lost a big chunk of her divine power, but she seems fine so there's no danger. The protagonist asks if things are better than they were before, back when everyone had to fall asleep. And she says yes. Looks like the sheep actually failed to fully take control of Robin's powers. And while she's thinking about the offer she made, she starts wondering if the sheep took only half on purpose. Then Nina asks why it would only take half. Robin lies, look at her, a little liar, saying she resisted really hard so maybe that's why. I don't know if Nina bought it, but she says that either way, it looks like they might be able to win this. Plus, Robin's targets don't seem to be most of them there, except for Hyeji. She says the Shepherd Boys operation is going back into play. For now, the focus is Woojin recovering Robin's energy, and they should never act alone. If any of them gets captured and has their powers extracted, the whole game could end right there. The protagonist, though, asks if it's really going to be that easy to control Jihyun. And the Baphomet girl is out there hopping around the school, glancing back. Hyeji knows she's going to have to help deal with that and says she's not mentally ready for that fight. But Nina just grabs her by the arm, says she doesn't have a choice, and yanks her down. The two of them drop in behind the Baphomet girl, who takes off running. Nina figures the sheep's problem is that every power it gets is super useful. That headbutt, for example, could straight up kill one of them. The good part is it's only really strong in a one-on-one. More people means it gets less effective. Then she tells the little pig girl to head to the side because they're going to corner her along the way. Nina's plan is solid. Since the sheep's target is the pig girl, if they split up, the sheep will go after her, and that's when Nina can move. Hygiene, on the other hand, says she's counting on everyone, because elsewhere in the school, the protagonist is already hiding with Rabin. The pig girl keeps running, but when she looks back, nobody's following her, and she's confused. Back with Nina, the Baphomet girl followed her. Nina even says it's unexpected. Why did the girl come straight at her? Jihyun answers there's no big reason. It's just because the cat is annoying her. Nina says fine, but with only half of the rabbit's power, she won't be able to win before the group gets there. She misjudged it, and this is going to be the end of her. Mid-jump, the sheep slips a hand into its pocket and says it doesn't use brute force. Then it throws a paper ball stuffed with a bunch of leaves inside. Yeah, Nina drops to the floor, and I can already guess what it is. The sheep asks if it's her first time under the effects of catnip, that stuff that makes cats go crazy and itchy. And now Nina's there, basically getting wrecked, like she's been drawn with a pencil that's on fire. Seriously brutal. The sheep leaves her there writhing in pain and just walks off. Nina can't even move properly. Totally stunned. Meanwhile, Hygiene is walking around confused, looking side to side. The tall protagonist pops out from a box like he wants to know where the damn sheep went. She says she doesn't know either. She thought she was going to be followed. And then boom. She feels the pressure and realizes the devil is right behind her. She turns, tries to back up, but in the same second, the sheep nails her in the stomach, slams her into the wall, rushes in again, knee to the chest. It's vicious. The poor pig girl is getting absolutely destroyed. The protagonist is thinking, where's Nina? She was supposed to be helping with this part of the plan. Hygiene face plants, and the sheep comes over, grabs her by the ear, yanks her up, and look at what the artist drew in the bottom right corner. For no reason, he cropped out the head just to show cleavage. A legend. I respect it. The protagonist standing there with his fist clenched. He has to follow Nina's strategy, but he also doesn't want to just stand there doing nothing. Then Jia-yoon asks what it feels like to get bullied after being the bully. Now that she's experiencing it, she must finally get how painful it is. Hygiene, crying, says she understands and admits she was wrong about everything. But the sheep doesn't accept it, slaps her across the face, asks what she did wrong, and she'd better answer correctly. Hygiene says what was wrong was bullying Woojin. The sheep tells her to explain why Woojin was her target. The sheep is staring her down, and I'm already scared she's going to say she liked him too. She's about to get punched, and Rabin is in shock. Since Hygiene hesitates, Jihan says fine then. She's going to rip out her pink hair until she finally talks. Next chapter, different angle, same threat. Yeah, it's definitely what it sounds like, because Hygiene says she'd rather die than say it. Then we jump back a year, back when Hygiene was only 16. She was well behaved. Honestly, she looked more like Jihan than her current self. Back then, she had no friends and kept wondering when she'd finally meet someone. That's when he shows up, the loser himself. Hey, how's it going? But instead of talking to him, she looks past him and just stares at Rabin, admiring how pretty she is. The protagonist notices she's looking at Rabin and says, yeah, Rabin's really cute. Her hair is really nice. She's always been popular because she stands out. That basically wrecks her. Hyjin, being clueless, goes, "Are you two friends?" He says no, just their parents are friends and they live nearby. Then Hyjin starts wondering if she should dye her hair. He says yeah, he thinks it would look good on her. And she gets all shy and awkward. She was about to offer him a piece of candy when Rabin shows up, pissed that she and Woojin are in the same class again. She tells them to hurry to the cafeteria, and Hyjin ends up alone, chewing her gum. That was the first day of the semester. Later on, he shows up at school exhausted, and someone taps his back. He turns around, it's Hyjin, now with pink hair. She's thinking she always wanted to dye it like she'd ever do it just because he told her to. But then Woojin asks who she is. She freaks out because he doesn't recognize her, and before she can explain, Rabin shows up again and drags him away. I thought she was going to lose it right there, but instead she decides she'll make him notice her no matter what. And now we're back to the present, with her getting beaten down, thrown to the floor, wrecked, swearing to herself she'll never reveal that she dyed her hair just to get the protagonist's attention, because she knows he's right there listening. The dangerous sheep steps closer again, until the poor pig girl does that Japanese-style apology pose, butt up, face down, begging her to please leave it for later. Of course the sheep doesn't care, asking if she really thinks she'll be forgiven just because she's on her knees. The pig girl says fine, she can hit her as much as she wants if it makes her feel better. Jiyeon realizes she's doing this dramatic "I won't talk" thing, but warns it won't get her anywhere. If she's going to act like that, then fine. She'll go talk to the cat, the rabbit, and beat everyone up until she finally talks. Honestly, I think you all should notice Nina still isn't showing up so you can help already. I'm giving you permission. The sheep starts walking away, but Hyjin grabs her leg and tells her to wait. Remembering her friends trying to be all sweet, she says she'll talk, and now Rabin is the one furious, fists clenched, telling the protagonist to get ready. Hyjin is about to explain the reason she bullied Woojin. At the same time, the protagonist is staring, ready to hear it when Rabin suddenly shows up and interrupts, saying she'll handle it. The sheep glances to the side with a little grin. Then the protagonist comes up from behind like a complete idiot, and we already know his plan isn't going to work. He thinks it's the perfect chance, sneaks up from behind, and yeah, he grabs the sheep hard from behind, saying she's joining the tournament. But she's smiling, and he doesn't get why. Then suddenly the symbol actually appears. Wait, what? Hold on. The protagonist wakes up. The girls are all in front of him, and he's still stuck to the sheep who looks normal now. He says it looks like she's back to normal, and asks where they are. I'm confused too. Apparently after he grabbed her, the two of them went to the other side? No idea. The sheep is confused, asking why she's clinging to him so much, and the sheep's spirit is standing off to the side like the others, apologizing, saying it was away from Earth for too long and caused a lot of chaos when it entered her body. The protagonist realizes it really was the sheep being possessed that made her go crazy, but, I don't know, could he be inside some illusion the sheep made? Probably not. That would be too much. He looks at the girls in front of him, sees everyone's okay, and thinks, good, looks like everything's been explained. Then Ji-Yoot starts crying, saying she never imagined she'd do such horrible things, and she really wants to apologize. Now Hyjin is the one yelling, saying crying won't fix anything. The sheep clings to their boy, saying she's sorry and she'll do whatever he wants. He's standing there not really understanding, while Nina says, fine, whatever, they got another participant and solved today's problem. She takes off running, saying she's hungry, when Jiyeon suddenly stops and calls out to Rabin, and then yeah, she snaps, turns around all possessed looking, and tells her to remember the promise. She joined the competition, but she didn't change the plan. That was the bait. Okay, I get it. So the evil didn't come from the spirit. It's in her already. Nasty little girl. Then she gets home, sits in her room with 1,000,000,000,000 photos on the wall. You don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to know who's in those pictures. When she's sitting there panting and trembling, saying she got hugged, let's put it that way. Next chapter, the girls are wondering if Jihan really made it home. Okay, the pig girl is hitting the protagonist while Rabin is deep in thought. The protagonist calls her name and she just nods along like she's agreeing with something random, not even paying attention to the conversation. Hyjin, meanwhile, is pissed that everyone was on Jihan's side, the rabbit's side, worrying about her, and now she's remembering that little hug she got from the protagonist, back when she was chubby, and she suddenly blushes. The protagonist sees her face is red and says she must be low on divine power because of the fight, and he reaches out to give her some divine power. She yanks his hand away, asking what he thinks he's doing, and he says he was giving her divine power. Then she changes direction, saying she's going another way, while Rabin is behind the protagonist, still wearing that worried look. Suddenly Nina's ear starts twitching. She stops, says she has something to do, tells them to go on ahead, and runs off too. The two of them don't get it. Everyone just vanished out of nowhere. Then the scene shifts to another part of the city under moonlight, and there's a guy using some kind of ability. He's summoning mist, some shadow, when someone says he's working hard even this late at night. The guy turns and fires off a burst of light, whatever that is, and someone in white shoes says a hit like that could be fatal. Finally, the fifth spirit has appeared. Damn. Number 5 is the dragon. And seriously, why couldn't it be a dragon woman? He turns and tells Nina he doesn't really care about the rankings the gods decided. She says his emotionless doll attitude hasn't changed, and that's good, because that way he won't mess up her plans. The dragon just stares, like he doesn't care about anything she's saying. Seeing that, she says he really is boring. Then she turns and says, good, now she's sure he's here. and she's counting on him if something like this happens again. He says he's not doing it because she asked. This is his mission, not a favor. She says fine, whatever. Then he tells her she's still pathetic, acting exactly like she did in the past, all desperate. That hits a nerve and she tells him to mind his own business. The dragon doesn't react, and she keeps walking. He sighs and says not everything goes exactly as planned, as long as that person is nearby. No idea who he means. Back to the protagonist and Rabin heading home. They're walking past the convenience store. The two of them are talking about how much has happened this past week, with all these animals showing up. She says yeah, and the weirdest thing of all was that kiss just now, with her first kiss getting stolen by Ji-hun. They stand there kind of not knowing what to say, and then he asks, what were you trying to say about Ji-hun earlier? When she was about to attack Haijun, you yelled something about how you were going to do it. What are you going to do? Rabin lies and says it was nothing. She was just trying to stop her. But what she really wants is to ask Weijin something. He asks what? His mouth right here. She wants to know if he's ever kissed anyone. You can tell it's a Korean story when the big issue is a kiss. If it were Chinese, she'd be asking how many kids he has. He goes into that same loser speech as always. No, I've never kissed anyone. I don't have a girlfriend. I'm a loser. I'm trash. But she yells at him to stop it. He's an amazing person. He's wrong if he thinks nobody likes him. He's the kindest, nicest person she knows. Then she turns all angry and tells him he needs to have a little more confidence. She sends him home while he's still standing there, all awkward. She slams the door and puts her hand to her face, trying to figure out how she's supposed to do this. Yeah, do what? Exactly. Meanwhile, the protagonist flops onto his bed. He's already gotten a third of the 12. The problem is he only has 100 days, so he can't slow down. He still needs 8 more. What he's also wondering is when Nina is coming home. It's hard for her to be away this long. The scene changes and we see her running through the forest. Someone in a cloak is rising up into the sky with spirits swirling around while she's on the ground screaming and crying, saying it doesn't count, that it's not fair. The white-haired woman tells her not to be sad because soon they'll meet again. Back with the protagonist, he's crying, wondering if he fell asleep again. It's the same weird dream he's been having every night. It feels like it's Nina next to him, this dream person in strange clothes, who looks like Nina and is crying. When he looks at his glasses, they look all smeared. He's dizzy. They really gave the kid a makeover. He goes to the mirror and freezes, staring at his reflection like, what is this? But the chapter ends, and in the next one, there's screaming that scares Rabin, who's outside. She's wondering why he's taking so long, and yelling when they promise to go together. When she opens the door and shouts asking what happened, she sees him. There were already girls competing before, now he's full-on Chad. Easy explanation. The guy went to sleep and woke up with his sexy look unlocked. Nina is waking up too, asking what the problem is, while Rabin is at the door yelling, asking where his glasses are. Then the cat is surprised too, and the protagonist turns around like, what happened? She touches his face and says he looks really similar. He asks similar to who, but she's just bright red. He tells her to explain, but she says it's nothing. He doesn't look like anyone. Woojin is sure something happened to him. Did some spirit latch onto him? What's going on? Now she's blushing hard, saying she doesn't really know either. And he says she definitely knows something. Suddenly she points and says she might not know, but someone there does. Robert, or more like something inside Robert knows. The judge's powers are getting stronger. The spirit comes out of the girl, reacting in this oddly specific way. Then the spirit explains that the more animals join the tournament, the more power the judge needs to control them. That's why his strength keeps increasing. The protagonist says there wasn't much change with almost any of the others. So why did this happen all of a sudden when he captured Ji-hyun? The spirit explains it's because he's capturing them way too fast. All these changes that were supposed to happen gradually ended up happening all at once, and now that it's started, every time he captures a new animal, he'll change a little more. That's the natural process of him gaining power to control the Zodiac tournament. He's still kind of confused and is about to ask Nina something, but he notices she looks shaken, like she's in shock. He puts a hand to her face asking if she feels okay. She looks like she has a fever, and then boom, she freaks out, turns into a cat and starts bouncing all over the place. He's like, what is happening? Nothing. She's just acting like that, and Rabin is starting to get it too. The world is brutal, if you're short, because of course the biggest evolution the protagonist gets is that Rabin notices he's way taller. He says his uniform used to be really loose, but now it fits his body perfectly. She just says she doesn't care and runs ahead. Anyone watching would think he turned into a celebrity. There are a ton of people crowding around the classroom asking if that's really Woojin. Something's off. How did he change that much overnight? Haijin hears the talk in the hallway, sees him surrounded, and runs over yelling his name, asking if it's really him. The kid looks like a titan now. She says it makes no sense. Yesterday they were basically the same height. But the girls in the class start turning on Haijin, saying here she goes again, trying to bully him. She uses her bad reputation to clear the room, telling everyone to get out. They were bothering Woojin too much and needed to stop messing with him. People look kind of annoyed at her, and she grabs him and says they're going somewhere else. On the stairs, she tells him to tell the truth. Does he have a spirit too? He says no, it's because he got that judge power and it's growing. Something like that. She says it's unfair. She gets the pig's power and gets fat, while he gets taller and doesn't even need glasses anymore. He tells her to get off his ear and nudges her away, saying she's tickling his ear. She turns red. The girls were already struggling, and now that he's built up like this, then she teases him, saying he needs to learn to handle things too. Yesterday she got beat up because of him. He gets awkward, and she says she's kidding. It's not a big deal. She starts to apologize, but he says next time he swears he'll protect her. That almost makes her short-circuit. She pulls away from him, says he's still ugly, and tells him to go back to his class. He's standing there confused with his mop hair, and then he leaves. While she's fuming, saying she's the one who's going to protect him. She's never going to be protected. Robin suddenly shows up and calls her. Out of nowhere, she asks what Hyejin thinks of Woojin. Hyejin says it's obvious she thinks he's a loser, but Robin tells her to be honest. She wants her opinion of him as a guy. Hyejin looks away and says, as a guy she wouldn't give him a chance in 100 years. If you were a little more mature, maybe. Robin looks surprised at the maybe, and Hyejin gets embarrassed and walks off, swinging her arms saying she's leaving. Robin goes back to the classroom, but today everyone's talking about the protagonist. Yeah, the game changed, didn't it? When everyone was talking about you, it was fine. Now that it's my boy in the spotlight, suddenly it's a problem. She's mad because everyone's talking about his looks, but to her his charm wasn't about that. Then we see the favor Jihoon asked her for earlier. I thought it was going to be something way weirder, but she just asked Robin to help her get together with Woojin. Robin asked why, and the sheep just said it's because she loves him. And now Robin is thinking, well, she doesn't have a choice. She has to help. You do have a choice, girl. Free will still exists. Next scene, they're walking home. Robin says school has been a total mess this week. He says honestly a day without all this spirit stuff would be nice, but she tells him he needs to start thinking. Does he remember anyone else he might be connected to? Any clue at all? They still need to find 8 more. He says no, he can't remember anyone else. Could there be someone he's connected to without realizing it? Robin looks like she's thinking something, but right when she's about to call his name, something appears in front of them. And wow, those L and A are huge. She runs up saying he got so tall, and she's already kissing his cheek, hugging him and going in like a wrecking ball. Robin is standing there asking what she's doing, and the protagonist is embarrassed. And that's the 9th one, meaning she's older than him. The girl is basically a walking hourglass. She stares Robin down and steps right up in her face asking who she is. Is she Woojin's girlfriend? Next chapter, it's dead silent, and Robin is wondering if this girl is his sister. But she's clearly a foreigner, so who is she? The L and A are still fighting for their lives, while the foreign girl also wants to know who Robin is. Robin says no, she's not Woojin's girlfriend, and asks him who this girl is. He scratches his head awkwardly and says it's been a long time since they've seen each other. She says yeah, almost 10 years. We go back 10 years when the protagonist's family always spent vacation in the same isolated little town. With not many friends there, he felt lonely. He's looking around when someone suddenly says, hey, what are you doing there, idiot head? It was Woojin, who could tell right away he was a kid from Seoul. He was surprised she was a foreigner, but spoke Korean. She went over to greet him, and right then this grandma with no mouth showed up. She asked if they were hungry. That's when he met the local shaman, and he started staying with Woojin. I still don't get the vacation part, because he's basically living there, sleeping there, playing video games, doing everything. And it still hasn't been answered. Where are this kid's parents? That's the obvious question. I guess we'll find out eventually. Next day, they're splashing water on each other, having fun, but then she suddenly starts coughing blood into her hand. Here comes the rare disease. He offers her his back and carries her, and she looks kind of sad. Then one day, when his vacation was about to end, he went to visit, and she was gone. Back in the present, he tells Robin that after that, he found out Woojin went to the United States to study, where her mom was. But now she's back, and she's back clinging to him from behind, saying those days were perfect, that they were together all day long. Robin jumps because this girl came in bold. Woojin, still embarrassed, says back then they were basically like siblings, but he thinks it's strange. He's feeling something now that he didn't feel back then. Feelings, okay? Not anything physical. Woojin tells him she felt awful leaving without being able to say a proper goodbye. He turns, grabs her hand and asks how things were in the US. He knows she needed treatment. Did it work out? She says yes, but then smacks his butt and tells him to stop interrogating her. And she starts reminiscing about when they used to bathe together. He says things are different now, they were kids. But she says he's grown a lot. He looks like a man now, while he's still awkward, saying it's weird seeing her show up after all this time. So she came to visit, right? How long is she staying? Yeah, no. She moved into the house across from his. The L and A are still fighting for their lives. Robin, uncomfortable, asks why that spot of all places. That's when Robin's mom shows up, recognizes Woohee and says she heard about her from the protagonist's mom. So Robin's mom is the one who brought her, while Woohee is already clinging to her, thanking her for all the help with the move. Robin's mom says she'll introduce her to the owner of the area and they leave, with Woohee turning back with that little smile, saying she wants to see Woojin later. The two of them just stand there confused. At least Robin is sharp. Right away she says, if you knew each other before, maybe she's part of the tournament. But she notices the protagonist looks totally thrown off. He didn't like that at all. She slams the door in his face and leaves him standing there confused. In her room she throws her backpack down and fumes, scratching at her own head. Then she grabs her phone and calls the sheep, who asks what's going on, and Rabin asks if she's free to meet up. Wow, when that sheep is in its normal form, it's already strong. but when it channels those little Baphomet horns, it's straight up dangerous. The main guy gets home and Nina's there on the bed acting weird, scratching herself. He's thinking, okay, like Rabin and everyone said, I don't need to worry, these powers aren't going to change me that much. The second Nina hears he's back, she immediately asks if he's got any news about other people with divine powers. And now the artist is trying to make my boy look all sexy. Like, check out my abs while I talk. There's someone who might be a candidate. Nina turns bright red. Then he asks her, moving closer, if it's possible for someone really far away, like in the United States, to have become a participant. But she hesitates, and he tells her to just say it already. Why isn't she answering? And then she blushes again, turns into a cat and starts bouncing all over the place. He grabs her midair while she's trying to break free, telling him to let go. But then she transforms back and ends up in an awkward situation. Out of nowhere, the protagonist is acting all smooth. He's like, Nina, we're not going to solve anything like this. You're keeping everything to yourself, aren't you? Tell me your secrets. She's completely red. Hun, what? He gets off her while she's got her eyes squeezed shut. She opens them and sees he's already beside her, asking what she's talking about. He suggests they go for a walk to relieve her stress. He says he heard that when a cat keeps jumping side to side, it means they need to burn off energy. But she says she doesn't feel like walking. She'd rather adjust to the human world, or try to find other people who might be part of the competition. He calls to her and says she needs to understand they've been looking for those people ever since they met. Sometimes it's good to take a break too. They both needed it. She's about to say she's fine, but then he grabs her tail, basically calling her out, saying she really hasn't gotten used to it. She can't even hide her tail and ears. She answers that she can't, because they don't just disappear. He says at least she should start covering them. That way they could go more places. Then suddenly she slams the door. He just stands there, not understanding why she's acting like that. And then she comes back wearing a bandana on her head and a little dress, asking if it's better. He's kind of shaken and says, yeah. At the same time, he notices she's humming, so she's clearly happy. She tells him to hurry up so they can go on that walk. Honestly, the best disguise is just pretending it's cosplay. Cat ears are totally normal these days. So they're out on the street, and she's licking an ice cream, saying she can't go to a world where stuff like this doesn't exist. He asks if she doesn't agree it was a good idea to go out. But like always, she just stares and doesn't answer. He realizes nothing's changed. The only thing that keeps changing is him, because of that stupid judge power. In some ways it's better, but on the other hand, he might die in 100 days. Either way, everything that's been happening is unbelievable. He doesn't even have time to properly process how abnormal all of it is. And at the same time, he feels like something way bigger is getting closer, and he needs to be ready. Suddenly Nina calls him, asking why he's standing there like an idiot. She probably wants him to take a lick of her ice cream. She offers it, telling him not to hold back. He says it's not that. He's fine, and he smiles, thinking at least he isn't alone in all this, because he has her. Today was about making Nina happy, nothing else. Then he notices a clothing store and says they should buy Nina some clothes, because up until now she's only been wearing Raven stuff. She puts her hands on her hips and says he finally had a good idea, grabs his hand and tells him to hurry up. She's happy and that makes him excited too. I still want to know where this guy gets money, because I've never seen him work a single second in his life. Now they're in the store, and the clerk says there are lots of outfits for her to try and pulls Nina aside. The protagonist waits for a while, and then Nina shows up, obviously drawn to look amazing, in a bunch of different outfits, all from that top-down angle. He's thinking shopping is exhausting. He's been waiting forever. Then she comes out in a little black dress, and says it's uncomfortable. She says she looks like a peasant with that thing on her head, and that dress, while he compliments her saying it suits her anyway, and she always looks good in black. The clerk says the total is $54,000. He immediately bolts, saying they'll come back another time. Outside, he apologizes, saying he didn't know women's clothes were that expensive. The day he gets a job, he promises he'll buy her everything, but she doesn't even seem bothered. She says it's fine, she'll keep borrowing. Then she suddenly smells something and starts walking off. He asks what's wrong, where she's going, and if she found a host or someone else from the tournament. But what she finds is a jar of catnip. She gets super excited, saying she can't believe they sell it here. Oh no. Thank God the protagonist came in clutch and stopped it at the last second. He tells her if she needs anything, she should just ask and he'll get it for her. She remembers that god or goddess. Honestly, I never know if that white-haired one is a man or a woman. She says okay then, and walks off. Did he buy the catnip? Because that's going to send her into a full meltdown. He sees her walking away kind of annoyed and thinks maybe it's better if he buys at least one outfit to calm her down. But he seems to have an idea of a certain place. He takes her to visit a Korean temple, but the person at the entrance says if they're wearing traditional Korean clothes, they don't have to pay. Looks like they provide the outfits too, because now she's dressed up and saying she feels weird. Probably because those are the kinds of clothes she supposedly wore, if she's really from 3,000 years ago. And the protagonist feels awkward too, saying he hasn't worn something like that since he was a kid. But she keeps seeing that other person from the past, and I don't know if that's a good thing. She's drawn to him, but it's not exactly him. She's drawn to who he reminds her of. I don't know if that's positive. She goes to step closer, but then she gets her head caught on a branch like an idiot. The cloth flies off and it reveals her ears. Honestly, it's not like she's revealing a dragon head. It's just 2 cat ears. You can play that off. Next chapter, she runs after the thing that flew off, but it lands right on top of the pond. She's standing there not knowing what to do, when the protagonist shows up and throws his jacket over her. Again, she looks at him and sees that guy from the past, and he tells her to be careful because her ears are showing. He also wonders if he can reach it, while she's thinking to herself that he's kind of showing up in her mind again. Then she remembers being in the same situation in the past, staring at the water like an idiot, when that guy threw his cloak over her, appeared beside her and smiled. Woojin says if he had a stick or something it'd be easier. Meanwhile, Nina tries to remind herself they're not the same person. We see her in the past, approaching a village under a tree, sleeping 3,000 years ago, holding the necklace in her hand, saying things still weren't over. But now, after what felt like forever, she finally made it this far. Sleeping 3,000 years in a tree is wild, all because she had hope of making a certain wish come true. But now, seeing the protagonist, she wonders if that's why. He picked up the thing that hides her ears and says it's not that wet because it landed on some leaves. Nina tells herself she can't stop herself from smiling, because this kid reminds her of that person. He puts it back on her head, saying he'll tighten it a little more this time so it won't slip off. Something dark is coming, because she's saying that after that world of loneliness she can enjoy this for at least a little while. It wasn't greed, and now she's even crying. Artist, you really had to bring the drama. The protagonist notices she looks pretty and sad, and then she suddenly runs off. Somewhere else in the temple, she's staring at the water again, saying she's the worst. The protagonist talks to her, but she gets startled and falls into the water, completely soaked. She stands up and asks why he came up behind her and scared her, but he's awkwardly telling her to cover herself first, which is funny because the first time we ever saw her, she was wearing invisible clothes. He's blushing while she tells herself she gets it now. The person from the past stayed in the past, and Woojin is Woojin. She wrings out her clothes to dry them, shakes her head like a dog and says she's ready. But he wants to know why she ran off out of nowhere. She lies and says there was pollen in her nose and she wanted to get away from that area. Then she sees some jars in the corner of the temple and says since she's wet she's going to run off, while the protagonist realizes she's lying and there's something wrong she's hiding. He's about to chase after her, but behind him there's a kid crying. The mom tries to calm him down because he dropped his ice cream, and then this older woman tells the mom to understand the boy won't stop crying just because she pressures him. Waves appear even in the smallest hearts, but when they settle, we're all the same. That proverb comes out of nowhere. Emotions need time to calm down like the sea, so she should let the kid calm down, and then he'll explain what happened. And the kid calms down and tells his mom he's crying because his ice cream fell. That was a little lesson for the protagonist too. He realizes maybe he needs to give Nina time to calm down and then she'll explain. Maybe it's too soon. He's only known her for a month, and he already wants to understand everything she feels. He's standing there with his hand on his chest when she calls him, telling him to hurry up, so they're in the temple, and he sees a box nearby and explains it's for makeup. She doesn't even know what makeup is. Now the artist suddenly goes full romance mode. She's lightly hitting him while he says if she doesn't know what makeup is, she can just learn. He's smiling, she's blushing, that kind of back and forth. Then they're outside the temple. Their little date is over, they're heading back, and now that the romance part is done, it's time for jealousy. Bin sees the two of them coming home and hides out of nowhere. And now she's thinking to herself that if something is happening between them, she doesn't have much time left. When they're about to go up the stairs, she appears and calls the protagonist. She's bright red and he asks what's wrong, what she wants. She straight up asks him out, but it was bait. It wasn't actually a date, because next chapter, who's standing there waiting for him? Jae-yoon. She's in a microskirt, wondering if the outfit looks weird. Honestly, I'm not even going to mention some of the outfits she wears that are way worse. She says she spent 2 hours getting ready, but still doesn't feel confident. She's stuck in her thoughts when someone calls her name. It's the protagonist, and now he's like 6 meters tall with shoulders as wide as a doorframe. Even she's shocked. She'd heard rumors, but didn't think he'd change that much. He shows up awkwardly, saying she came too early. There are still 10 minutes left, and asking how long she's been there. She lies because she's probably been there for 2 hours, but says she just arrived too. I don't get it, artist. This is just date after date. We went from one, and now we're already at another, with both of them awkward, not knowing what to say. They hesitate, trying to see who'll speak first. She tells him to go ahead. When she looks forward, everyone came along. Nina having fun with cotton candy, Reejin eating everything in sight, and Raven watching what's going on. And then Ji-yoon gives Raven a hard stare, while half transformed, and you can feel the pressure. The protagonist apologizes, saying he had to take the subway because everyone came with him like that. Right away, Ji-yoon is glaring at Raven again, like what is this about everyone being stuck to her? But of course Nina doesn't care at all. She immediately clings to him, saying there are too many people, so it's better if they stay close so they don't get separated. The three of them start walking off, while the other girl just stands there staring, and Raven comes over to apologize. She gets stared down again, and the girl says Raven better have a really good reason for all of this. Robin says she'll try to explain, and then we jump back to the night before, when she went to talk to the protagonist because she had something to say. He asks what it is, and she asks him out. They both freeze and he turns red, still trying to figure out what that even means. Then Robin explains that it's not that kind of date. Ji-hyun got some tickets to an amusement park and wanted to know if he could come along. The protagonist says, sure. Robin calls him an idiot for thinking the wrong thing, but asks if he's going or not. He wants to know what she means by thinking the wrong thing. He says he definitely wants to go, and she gets all shaken up, wide-eyed. She says she'll tell Ji-hyun, and he's like, great, everyone can go together, it'll be fun. It's his first time at a park too, outside of school, so why not bring everybody? Before Robin can say no, Nina asks what this park thing is, and he says he'll try to explain. But when he starts talking about the boats, the giant carousel, Nina thinks it sounds like some weird stuff, then goes, okay, it sounds kind of crazy, but fun. The protagonist is already thinking about inviting Hyjin, and he even wants to invite the school nurse too. Robin gets awkward right away because everyone's so excited. How is she supposed to say it wasn't meant to be a whole group trip? So she just says she'll share the date later. Back at the park, Jimla says she gets it now. This is how those two ended up stuck together again. But that doesn't help anything. And why is Robin even here? Robin doesn't know what to say. But then the protagonist calls out to them, and she gets all soft, saying she's coming. She sighs and says it's not what she wanted, but she should focus on the fact that at least Woojin is there with her. Robin says that's a good way to think about it. Focus on the positive. But her friend says if Robin wants to make up for what she did, she's going to have to help them proactively. Then there's another artist attack at the end of the chapter. This guy's a menace. At the park, everyone's saying there are way too many people and it's packed. Nina thinks it might have something to do with the Zodiac tournament, and the protagonist tells her to forget that. They're here to have fun and relax. We've been relaxing forever. Can the story start moving again? Hopefully something happens today. Hyjin is behind him, totally obsessed with the collar of his shirt, saying she wants to gently pet it. But if she gets too close, her heart starts racing. And all of this would be easier if useless Robin hadn't brought this whole pile of trash with her. She shoots Robin another glare, and Robin thinks it's better to help this girl for everyone's survival. Because even though she's sure Jaehyun is basically a crazy psycho, she also knows Jaehyun genuinely likes the guy. They're standing in front of that teacup ride where you spin and everything spins. Robin pretends she has a stomachache and shoves Jaehyun into the protagonist, telling them to ride together because she doesn't want to go on that one. They both turn red, and inside the ride, Jaehyun tells the protagonist she feels weird. She grabs the wheel and asks for help, saying she's not very strong. And then something happens out of nowhere. Hyjin shows up saying she'll help with that. The next chapter shows Hyjin actually sat down there because like she thought, Jaehyun is still a threat, and she doesn't know why, but Robin is helping this girl. She's going to protect Woojin, who looks completely lost. Hyjin stands up and tells the protagonist to move. She'll show him how it's done, but the thing won't budge. Jaehyun says she doesn't know what's going on with her. Things aren't going according to her plan, but Hyjin isn't backing down, and Jaehyun's like, no way, she's stronger than her, and says fine, let's see. Then she spins it hard. While she's at it, she slides a little closer into the protagonist and apologizes, saying she didn't do it on purpose. Meanwhile, Nina is wondering why they made the cups so huge. The park day keeps going. Take a photo of one, take a photo of the friends, with Robin basically helping everyone while the others are sweating and fighting over the protagonist. Then comes the classic haunted house. The protagonist charges in and they go in too. But the girls have special powers. At least Robin and Jaehyun can see perfectly inside. The protagonist tells them to follow him, and the girls, all love-struck, say of course. There's a mummy actor inside wondering who this punk is bringing two girls into this place. He's a top-tier actor and lonely, so he decides he's going to embarrass the protagonist. Then he gets stared down by the sheep, freaks out and runs off screaming, and everyone's confused because they walk through the corridors and don't find a single ghost. After that, they're on tiny bumper cars, which honestly looks violent. Nina doesn't get it. The protagonist wonders if this is really how you play, and then the fun starts. He bumps Jaehyun a little, but suddenly, boom, she gets slammed right after she smiles. She looks back, and of course it's Hyjin saying that's how you play this game. Jaehyun gets furious, but then the protagonist drives by and bumps Hyjin's car, and the two of them are having fun. Now Jaehyun drops the anger and switches to drama, which is even worse. A little later they go get ice cream and the protagonist is surprised. Hyjin is enjoying it more than he expected. And now I realize the protagonist didn't even bring that childhood friend from huge LA. While they're sitting on a bench talking, Robin thinks this place is way too basic. She doesn't even get how they're having so much fun. But then she calls everyone over because the line for another ride is empty, and everyone runs off, leaving Jaehyun behind. They go to what looks like a roller coaster, and the protagonist says since nobody's ever died on it, it must be safe. Famous last words. The girls stare each other down to see who gets to sit next to him, but when Jaehyun steps forward, Hyjin grabs her arm and tells her to stop. Then Hyjin tells the protagonist to choose who he wants next to him. He gets all awkward and says, well, Jaehyun's wearing a miniskirt like a micro-skirt, so she probably shouldn't ride this or everyone's going to see everything. That hits her like a truck. She looks devastated, lowers her head and says she forgot something back at the bumper cars. She walks off shaken, but Robin follows and asks, since when she's liked Woojin. Then we get Jaehyun's life flashback, a dad who owned a hospital, and a mom who taught at some prestigious place. But they put all their effort into themselves, not their kids. Even on her birthday, she'd just get a boxed cake and be alone at home. At school, it wasn't any different. Nobody wanted to talk to her, and she just stayed in the library with the nerdy girl. That's where she met the only person who might be even nerdier than her. Woojin, the loser. And before she realized it, she was always looking for that filthy piece of trash. One day, everyone left a mess of books. She realized she wouldn't have time to clean it up, so she left, saying she'd finish tomorrow. But on the way out, she saw the protagonist coming in. She wanted to say something but stayed quiet. It made no sense to talk to someone she'd never spoken to even once. The next day, she woke up late and panicked, thinking everything would still be a disaster. But when she got there, surprise, it was all clean. On the table, there was a little sheep book with a message from the protagonist, thanking the library staff for always cleaning and saying he tidied up yesterday. She got curious and found out he was Woo Jin, a boy who liked animals. And then she bought a Sony camera, and that's when the stalker was born. Back in the present, she says she realized Woo Jin's kindness wasn't just for her, and she's fine with that. From now on, she'll be satisfied just watching him from far away. She gave up so easily. Come on, try harder, change. Robert refuses to accept that, saying there's no way that's enough. She starts trash-talking the protagonist, saying she doesn't get it. Woo Jin is actually a useless loser, a virgin nerd, and he doesn't understand girls' feelings. She pushes Jim Yoon and says she'll create the perfect chance, and Jim Yoon has to use it to confess everything to him. Come on, author. Either give me an action protagonist or throw hands with the girls. Pure school romance isn't doing it for me. Speed this park arc up. The two of them are crying on the bench. Robert's saying she'll help her confess. Nina comes out of a ride exhausted, and then they notice off to the side, there's going to be one of those big cosplay performances. Then Jim Yoon walks up to the protagonist and says she wants to go on the Ferris wheel, but just the two of them. He's like, Woodjwell? What? Just us? Since he feels bad about earlier basically kicking her out because of the micro skirt, he says maybe that's fine. He says he'll go with her. Robert wonders if Ji-yoon will actually have the courage, but at the same time Robert's shaken too, because she doesn't even know what she wants him to feel. For now she decides to ignore that and focus on Ji-yoon succeeding. Then Haejin shows up asking where the protagonist and that psycho went. Robert, acting weird, says she has no idea. Haejin notices and starts tickling her, and Robert freaks out and ends up spilling it. Now we're at the Ferris wheel. The two of them are facing each other in awkward silence. Haejin and Robert get into another cabin and just watch. Haejin wants to know what Robert is planning. Robert tries to deny it, but Haejin is sure Robert is helping that psycho sheep cling to the protagonist. And why? Why would Robert push the boy she likes toward that girl? Haejin remembers two things: how Robin used to stare at the protagonist, and the same thing the sheep said, watching from far away was enough. Now Haejin is shaken. She can tell the vibe isn't friendly anymore. Back in the protagonist's cabin, he says the view is amazing. But when Microskirt Girl doesn't react, he realizes that's not it. He's confused. She's not saying anything. Is it because of what happened at the roller coaster? Erin is sitting there having a full meltdown, trembling, saying her chest is about to explode. She remembers Robin saying she'd create one opportunity and she had to use it. She gathers her courage, calls the protagonist and says she has something to tell him. This is definitely going to turn into a problem because it's way too dramatic. He asks what? She says she. His eyes go wide. The light shines behind them. Look at the mood, then suddenly we're outside. I'm narrating all this and you're not even going to tell me what happens, you bastard. They're smiling out there, laughing. And now Haejin is in shock, wondering if the girl really confessed. Robert doesn't know if she's happy or sad that her plan worked. But then boom, the whole Ferris wheel starts shaking. It looks like it's spinning the wrong way, which shouldn't happen. The protagonist is talking to Jaeheen when he hears screams, and they see the thing going insanely fast. The girls are spinning up there. Yeah, that can kill someone. And then another troublemaker shows up, all modern and flexible. Now we're talking, finally, action. Action and women. That's what I clicked on this for. Next chapter. Robert is in shock, asking why it's spinning backward. But before she gets an answer, the two of them crash into each other, getting squished together. She tries to yell at the operator, but he's just on his phone ignoring everything. They're confused. He's wearing noise-canceling headphones. What is going on? And why does it look like nobody in the park is noticing anything? That's seriously weird. Who has this broken, overpowered ability? The protagonist runs over to the guy in charge, and the guy tells him to back off. Can he see the Ferris wheel is still spinning? The protagonist says yes, he can see it. That's the problem. Right then Ji-hoon says it's no use. Not just that guy. Apparently the whole park can't tell anything is wrong. Meanwhile, in the machine room, there's a girl slamming down hard in her Jordans, cranking the speed up like crazy. The protagonist is confused, saying there wasn't supposed to be any animal in this competition that could cause something like this. But there are tons of people around, so how's he supposed to know who it is? Look over there. Look behind you. They're hiding from you back there. Behind that white glare. The girls inside think it's something to do with Jihin. That someone tried to screw her over and now she's messing with them back. But down there she's starting this amazing transformation, saying she's gonna wipe everyone out, even whoever's making this happen. He tells her to calm down and not go around hitting people. She says fine, but at least she's gonna stop this wheel. So she powers up and runs straight toward it. And oh my god, she gets smacked like a total idiot and thrown to the ground. It's always like this. When it's an enemy, they're insanely strong. The second they become an ally, they turn into trash. Then someone asks the protagonist if his common sense is just gonna stand there. She might be kind of scary, but she's actually a kind person. That voice is coming from Jihin's direction. He's confused because it doesn't sound like her. And yeah, it's not, it's the spirit in her chest talking, telling the bastard to stop acting like he used to. He needs to use the powers he has. So the protagonist puts his hand on his chest, his eye starts glowing, and he sees energy around Jihin. Not just hers, he can see the energy he has too. And the sheep explains that now that he has more abilities, he can focus and see divine power in people. And now that he has that much energy, he can transfer big amounts and fill up other people, The protagonist asks how, and the sheep says something weird. Share your divine power through the biggest entrance of her body. He immediately concludes, her mouth. Thank God he's a decent guy. Which makes sense, I guess. Whatever. But since he's that gross, stinky nerd we already know, it looks like he's about to kiss her. He grabs her face and everything. But instead he gives her a blessing on the forehead. For the love of God, dude, I'm not even gonna complain too much, because at least she goes into that demon mode transformation, saying that with this strength now she can do it. Peace walks up to the wheel, stretches out her arm, and everything stops instantly. The problem is the pressure is still there, so she can't hold it for long. At least in that time, Raven and the pig managed to get down. Is that skirt of yours magic, or what? Why isn't she flying upward? Raven falls like an idiot, smacks her knee on the ground, and the protagonist runs to help, but Hyjin steps in front and tells him to help her too. He doesn't really get it, and she says she wants help with power. Everyone needed a little energy, so he basically turns into some dad going around blessing his daughters. Forehead kisses for everybody. Then it's light everywhere, and Hyjin transforms with little pig ears popping out. Her stomach stays skinny. No way the artist had the guts to turn her into a full-on dumpling. Meanwhile, Jihin is asking for help because that damn pig comes over to provoke her, but in the end she helps herself and manages to block the thing. Then the protagonist points at one of the cabins and says there's strong divine power coming from there. Since the girls are still transformed, they use their strength to spin the wheel the other way and bring the cabin right in front of them. The door opens, smoke pours out, and inside there's actually a girl, staring and smiling. But the moment Hai-Ching charges in to attack, whoosh, she disappears, turns into smoke, and not just her. It looks like everyone in the park vanished in a split second. Nina finds them right away and comments on it. Something's wrong with this park. People are disappearing. What's going on? While they're arguing about it, far away the girl of the moment is watching, saying that's the judge. He's better than she expected, which is wild, because expectations must have been low, since this kid is trash. The protagonist asks Nina if it's possible for any of the participants to do something like that. It's the first time he's seen divine power that complex. Nina says it would only be possible if the spirit's true body had descended, which shouldn't happen. But either way, it looks like they lost the person. Weirdly, Jihin says maybe things should end, but it's her first time at an amusement park and she wanted to keep having fun, or she'll be sad. Out of nowhere, the protagonist makes that dumb face and says, well, nobody got hurt so we can still have fun. But the others are exhausted, saying they can't do any more rides. Then Raven suggests they take a photo. The protagonist looks over and Jihin seems excited, so they all go into the photo booth, everyone grabs an accessory, and on the way back, Raven is just thinking about the protagonist. Seriously, those two lost and got pushed to the side while the girls are glued to him. Jihyun looks calm now. Raven even asks what happened. Jihyun smiles and says she doesn't need Raven's help anymore. Raven freaks out and asks what the protagonist said, and Jihyun says, yeah, he's gay, he rejected her. Dude, for 1 second I was against him. But after what she says next, she says she wants to do everything for him and she'll help him in the tournament. She'll break the other girls' arms and legs so they can't run away and bring them to him. What the hell? Yeah, I accept you rejecting her, protagonist. And this crazy yandere also spills everything. What time he goes to the library, what he likes to eat, how long he stays, even what clothes he wears. The protagonist doesn't get how she knows all that. She says the important thing is she likes him. The idiot says he likes her too, but they're clearly not talking about the same thing, and she tries to clarify what she means. Obviously, he gives the dumbest answer possible. For now, I'm not really sure, I don't understand much about this, but since you answered honestly, I'll be honest too. How about we stay friends and get to know each other better? That's a punch to the gut. He says it while shaking, and she just accepts it, thinking it really is the most him answer. Back on the train, Raven asks if she's okay. Jihyun says yes, stands up and says she's leaving first. Honestly, she does seem fine. She leaves with a little photo of the two of them together, and she's happy. That was enough for her. If she accepted it, who are we to criticize the protagonist? On the way back, like always, Nina is clinging to the protagonist, and Raven is just watching. They're fired up to capture the person today, and Nina says now that he can see divine power, it should be way easier. Nina says that if that's the case, they should start testing right now. She points at the girl in front and tells him to check if she has power. And of course it's her, the LA Queen. She says hi and asks what they're doing out so late. He says they went to an amusement park. She looks them over and says it seems like it was fun. The protagonist starts activating his little power while she stares at him, asking why he's looking at her like that. He awkwardly says it's nothing and that they'll talk later. Then his friends ask how it went, and he says he activated the power but didn't see anything. Raven doesn't buy it and says something's off. They said everyone who awakens has some connection to him, so she'd be perfect since she spent childhood vacations with him. He says it was a long time ago, maybe that's not it. And Nina says fine. But then they'll have to meet everyone he's gotten close to recently. Suddenly, the protagonist remembers someone and says he hasn't talked to this girl in a while, but she's still on his friends list. He used to be the biggest loser, and now he's got old women's numbers saved. That doesn't add up. Wait, never mind. Because I just found out he was a nerd who played RPGs and met a girl in the game named Kokyo. She was popular with everyone, and somehow even in a game this miserable kid manages to be gross. Dude, you're a nerd. You were supposed to be level 999 and have her going, please help me, senpai. After some chatting, he found out she bought brand name clothes, so her family seemed rich, but she also talked about drinking, so her personality was hard to read. One day she said she wanted to leave the guild because the leaders were all hitting on her. The protagonist said that guy was wrong. He was almost 30, and she was way younger, right? That's when they started talking more. She felt safe with Woojin, the super virgin kid, and the protagonist is listening to her voice and thinking it sounds amazing. She could be a streamer. Now that I think about it, do you remember this story started with him saying he liked Haiji's foot? How did we go from a creep who tells the whole classroom he likes a girl's foot to this kid who's scared of everything? Hard to say. They kept talking all night and time passed, just messaging back and forth while he was getting bullied by Hoiji at school. The idiot's username was Master of Animals, and it looks like he planned to eventually meet Kokyo, but after he got bullied he lost confidence and never contacted her again. Nina doesn't understand any of this, she has zero idea what a game even is. Robert says it sounds plausible that this person awakened, and the other one is basically chewing on his phone telling him to call already because they don't have all day. The protagonist feels awkward. She'll think it's weird if he messages out of nowhere. Robert tells him to show her the contact, and she'll message her right now. She was online 1 second, and the next she was offline. Scene change. It's a meeting of her team. Everyone talking about how incredible Kokyo is. Her voice is so soft, so delicious. They're sure from her personality, her character, and her voice that she's amazing. Everyone's chatting like that while the guild leader, who looks like the protagonist's dad, just watches. Then the door opens and everyone blushes. A woman walks in wearing this tight, vacuum-sealed looking dress, fixes her hair, and asks if this is the guild meetup. The idiots stumble over themselves and say yes, and she introduces herself as Kokyo. Next chapter switches to a PC cafe. Everyone's gaming and suddenly someone slams ramen down on a guy's table. He goes, "What kind of trash service is this?" Then he looks up and sees who served him. I remember her if I'm not mistaken. She's the dog one. Like literally dog. Not that kind of. Never mind. And the guys don't even care. She can treat them however she wants. If she's working, everyone comes to this place. Then right at that moment, she welcomes them. And it's the protagonist and the others walking in. Nina says the smell is weird. And Robert says it's a place men weirdly like way too much. The protagonist logs into the game to see if he can find Kokyo again. He opens the Gigi guild, but only a few broke-looking people are online and she's offline. He finds a guild officer and asks what happened. Did the guild die? The guy explains it didn't die. Everyone just went to the guild meetup. The protagonist asks why everyone went. What was so special that they were that interested? The guy says it's because Kokyo said she'd attend. And we're back with the guys offering her fried chicken, proposing marriage. Eat my chicken. Get out of here, you weirdos. They're all staring while she drinks a beer. Guys on the other side are staring too, saying she's sexy. She starts getting sick of chicken wings, and another guy stands up ordering a bunch of stuff. God, what a bunch of annoying dudes. But she doesn't help either. She leans in, throws finger hearts, tells them they're the best. And now they're trying to invite her to an after party. They say they'll catch the first train, which is basically saying they'll stay until 5 or 6 in the morning, and then leave. She's standing there not sure what to say, when suddenly someone says that's enough, it's already too much. It's the leader in the back saying it doesn't matter how close they are in the game, they just met in real life. They shouldn't pressure her. She's like, oh my god, he's so mature, so responsible. Outside, she's thanking him, but if I remember right, at the start of the protagonist's story, didn't he say this was the guy who was hitting on her? The guildmaster? And I'm thinking he's doing that two-faced thing, acting responsible but actually being the worst predator. Or maybe not, because she thanks him for not calling the sub-guildmaster, who makes her even more uncomfortable. The guy says he can call her a taxi if she wants, right as she's about to accept, but then her phone starts buzzing. She suddenly takes off running, hides in an alley because it hit midnight. She says this ability is a total curse. Next thing you know, she's already on the bus, while everyone around is talking about her in the chat. Oh, and we find out the picture she uses in the chat is actually edited. She's way less thick and way less, giant than she looks there. I think that's it. She made herself look bigger because in real life she's tiny. My god, we get home and she's not just tiny. She literally is a kid. What the hell? But she's celebrating, saying the meetup was amazing, and she even saw the guildmaster. And that's when we remember, a little earlier, when she took her photo and was wondering why she looked like an elementary school girl. She always dreamed of growing a little more. But because she looks like that, she decided to try using her voice to make money in the game. So she kind of, acts super nice so people would give her items, then she'd sell the items, I guess. Until suddenly one day, when those pillars of light went up, she was on her way home, and in the blink of an eye, boom, she grew and got huge. This really is the most half-baked power ever. She turns into an adult after midnight. What the hell? Or after sunset. I didn't get it. She's at home trying to figure out what's going on with her when she suddenly gets a message from the protagonist. She thinks it's weird this guy hasn't messaged her in forever, and the message is him asking if she's noticed anything strange happening to her body. She's instantly confused because they haven't talked in ages, and that's the first thing he says. But at the same time, she's thinking the guild meetup wasn't that bad and she loves the attention she gets. On the other hand, that assistant GM is saying he heard she's insanely hot and he wishes he'd gone too. He says he's gonna kick her out of the guild, but then the real leader shows up and says that's enough. The chat gets restricted right then. The leader apologizes and she says it's fine. Then he says, well, they're going to have to set some rules for the guild. How about they talk privately offline later? And here comes the devil, because there are things about the assistant GM he wants to apologize for. She tries to say it's fine, but he's being dramatic, saying no, he won't accept that. He needs to protect her, so she should give him her number so they can talk. And weirdly, this girl is totally excited. Like, girl, that's dangerous. Next day, she's still confused and barely slept. She's walking down the hallway watching the protagonist, and he's saying that if he sees someone with his own eyes, he can tell whether they're a divine host or not. She's trying to go into the room, kind of awkward. Actually, it's the nurse's office, and the nurse is saying there's a kid who's been absent a lot lately. And right then she shows up saying she doesn't feel well. Immediately, the protagonist looks at her. In an instant, he recognizes her as that Kokyu by her voice, right? She says he's got the wrong person and tries to run, but he comes up behind her and says he's the master of animals. She freaks out, asking if he's Woojin, and before he can answer, she realizes it's time. Boom, she transforms, and suddenly she's gigantic. And like, okay, FBI, what are you gonna do now? I'm not gonna praise anything, I'm just gonna stall so people can watch and make their own conclusions. They're standing face to face, the protagonist yelling like he's having a meltdown, while the poor girl is terrified. If anyone sees her like this, they'll think she's a pervert like last time. When the transformation happened and she was out on the street, everyone started saying maybe she was an idol or someone famous, but her clothes were kind of small. Why was she walking around half naked? She has no idea what to do, and the protagonist uses the only move he's got and covers her with his coat. She's confused. She just transformed and grew right in front of him, but he seems calm. At the same time, she notices he has a tattoo on his chest that's glowing. He steps closer, telling her he knows how to fix this problem, but then her phone rings and says it's too late. She's going to be late for her date. He's still trying to process it and wants to say something, but she shoulder checks him and runs off again. Come on, author, what are you trying to do here? It's beyond obvious. She's totally innocent. Oh no, I transformed, but at least now I'm pretty for my amazing date with that kind guy. Is he gonna be kind? I don't think so. She got ready, bought stuff, put on makeup, and there he is waiting by the car door. But I can't even blame him. She never said she was tiny, and every time he saw her, she was huge. When he gets there, he immediately starts the car and goes, "Get in." She's confused, but she obeys. Sits down, and he even puts the seatbelt on her. She thinks she's in some K-drama, loving it. Then he starts driving, and she's feeling like a real adult. Okay, at least he didn't take her straight to a hotel. Let's eat first. He's trying to impress her, ordering that couples set that costs $50,000. She says it's way too expensive, but he tells her to relax. He's paying for everything. That's the Guildmaster treatment. Outside, they're walking, and she sees some jewelry, and they tell her to try it on. She buys it, thinks it's all pretty. Basically, he's being nice, but we know something nasty is coming. He pats her head, but I don't trust him for a second. And the nasty part starts now. She says the day was fun, but he goes, "What do you mean was? It's only 6. The day's still long. There's something I want to do with you." She's like, "What is it?" Now they're standing in front of an izakaya, one of those little bars. And here comes the classic, "Drink this, just a little. It's no big deal, it's weak." She drinks the first one thinking she'll be fine. She's already all red, saying it tastes like soda and it's easy to drink. He says, "Yeah, it's so easy. She can drink as much as she wants." And now she's leaning on him and the guitar starts playing. He whispers in her ear that she gets prettier the more she drinks. That's a new technique. At the same time, he asks if she's sleepy. Then he's leading her through the streets, saying this situation is dangerous. It's time for him to finish the most obvious plan ever. He says they're too tired. How about they rest before going home? She says they can sleep at a PC cafe. He says PC cafes are nice, but there's an even better place. When she opens her eyes again, surprise, she's not at a PC cafe. What is this? There's a table with red monitors, a room full of cameras. Oh, he was playing on 2 accounts, and that's when she recognizes one of them. At the same time he was the guildmaster, he was also the creep who kept hitting on her. She's sobering up now, and it's too late. She should go home. She stands up saying she's leaving, but then he throws her onto the bed, saying he spent $200,000 on her today, so she's not leaving without doing anything. At minimum, she should have the decency to do it once. Yeah, she messed up, fell for the level 1 trap, but it got late and now it's midnight. She screams, the glow starts, and when he looks again, she's turned into a child begging for help, and now someone's at the door. "You're screwed, buddy." The guy at the door is banging. "Sir, someone said you came in with a girl who looked really young. You know you can't do that, right?" He's inside freaking out, saying he's not crazy, and none of that is happening, but she's biting his arm. Then they tell the staff to move, and I think it's the girl who kicks the door in, and they grab him. Imagine this guy trying to explain it to the police. "No, officer, I gave her drinks, but she was an adult. I swear when midnight hit, she suddenly turned into a kid." He fell into the worst trap possible. He's desperately trying to say he's not a pedophile at all. He'd never want anything with an elementary school girl, but it shook her up because it hit her right in the psychological wound. The protagonist comes in, grabs him by the collar, calls him shameless and disgusting, and tells him to explain himself. He activates his power, boom, slams him into the wall. The guildmaster is completely rattled. Still in a bathrobe, he jumps out the window and says he's getting out of there. Nina asks if she should chase him, and the nurse says no, there are more important things. How? The girl is already safe. Chasing him is obviously more important. Anyway, next scene looks like they can't prosecute him because there's no proof. What? Weren't there cameras? Didn't the woman at the front say she saw it on the cameras? But okay, when it was on camera, the girl was still grown, so maybe he slipped out of it. Now Kukyo wants to know how the protagonist found her. He explains that the coat she took, his coat had his phone in it, and they tracked it with his friends. Now that I think about it, her power is pretty weak. You just get bigger. That's it. Okay. Then the protagonist says he talked to the guild people, and it turns out everyone already knew the master had been watching her for a long time. He even went as far as creating a secondary character, just to make that character look like the bad guy, so he could play the nice guild master. She's thinking, yeah, he really is trash. The protagonist says she was lucky they stopped it before anything happened. She says that's not luck at all. She thought he actually cared about her, but it was all fake. And the worst part is when he saw who she really was, it only got worse. He felt disgusted. She really was pathetic. She's making a face like she deserves a pie to the face. But then the protagonist starts flirting. Careful. The last guy who flirted almost ended up in jail. He says she's exactly how he always imagined. She asks what he means and he says she's cute and charming. She jumps, then tells him to explain what he means. He says she's cute like when she'd cheer him on when he got a rare item. Stop lying. You were trash at the game. You didn't have any rare items. She smacks his shoulder, saying he really sounds like a loser gamer, even in real life. Exactly how she imagined. He likes that apparently. Looks like we just found out what Woojin is into, getting insulted by women. Suddenly they're both quiet. He leans in and she immediately puts her hand up like, back off, too fast, slow down. He tells her to relax. He's just trying to help her control the divine power. She just needs to trust him. Then he hugs her and the chicken joins the tournament. We still don't know what her animal is, honestly. The power activates tons of light. She feels heat, energy across the city. Meanwhile, the guild master is heading back to the internet cafe again. The guys ask, dude, you're in a bathrobe. What happened to your clothes? He says he almost got screwed. He just got out of the police station. The guys say looks like he went as far as he could go if he ended up at the cops. He says he got lucky they don't have any evidence, so he got out. But while he's saying all that, we see the dog girl listening to everything. And as soon as she serves him, he looks to the side and already picks out the next victim. Careful. This one bites, literally, I think. And he's a psycho too. She went into the bathroom stall and he came in right behind her. A while later, his friends are wondering where that idiot went. And inside, we see him under the dog girl's shadow, getting wrecked, slapped around, beaten up, exactly. She even steals a cigarette from him and says that's number 5, not bad. So now we've got our badass girl. Let's see how she acts. But soon enough, she's going to be blushing around the protagonist too. We already know it. Next chapter. Right when Kukyo joined the tournament, she asks what that thing flying is, and he says it's the animal spirit that's giving her those powers. She says she knows, but it looked more like a sick chicken or a sick spirit. It wasn't doing well, because the spirit says it's shaken up by how much she drank, and says she was an idiot for drinking that much. If she'd gone up against that guy using the spirit's basic strength, she would have won. The main guy tells her the spirit isn't lying. Since she's got divine power, it should be possible to do something like that. She can control it. She gets excited, of course. So how does she get big again? She wants to transform right now, but he says the transformation might be different. She's thinking she's gonna sprout. I don't know, chicken feathers, wings, something like that. But then she starts glowing, and right away all the girls rush into the room to talk to him. And what they find is her, now transformed into this tiny little giant. Next scene, everyone's in the living room. And I guess Kukyo explained everything that happened. Haijin is immediately blunt and says the girl's basically having fun with her powers, using them too much for her own benefit and entertainment. The teacher warns them to be careful, because when she takes that form, it's kind of dangerous. She apologizes and says she'll be careful. Meanwhile, the main guy tells everyone to stop giving her such a hard time. She says she'll think about it and reflect. But then Nina jumps on him, opens the boy's shirt and says the important thing is they already have 5 people on the list. There are still 2 months left, so at this pace they won't have any problem. Ji-yoon asks if she's really sure about that. That person they ran into at the amusement park that day was on a completely different level. There could be others like that who'll be way harder to capture. Everyone gets kind of quiet and down about it. And then Kuko asks what this finding more host thing is about. He explains it's everyone participating in the competition. The ones who have the zodiac spirits. Usually if someone's acting weird or transforming, you assume they're a host. Kukyo asks if they're all going to hunt together, and he says yes. She gets excited, saying it's like a game and it sounds fun. Then the wide-hip nurse says they could make it a school club. That way they can meet up without looking too suspicious. Ji-yoon suggests calling it a photography club, so she can pose for Woojin. Another girl wants a gaming club, another wants a research club, but nobody's really into anything. The nurse says the best option is a research club, because then they can do whatever they want and just say, we're researching it, and that's that. Nina, on the other hand, draws everyone's attention, because they want to know what she's going to do. Since she's not part of the school, she turns into an angry little cat and jumps. But the main guy catches her midair and says, fine, she'll be the club mascot in cat form. Now we're at school. Everything's set up, the club is formed and running. But then we see an old guy walk into a classroom and get everyone's attention. He says it's unusual for this to happen halfway through the year, especially when they're already close to graduating, but they have a new transfer student. For a second I thought it was a girl, but the person who picks up the chalk is a man who starts writing on the board. I'm pretty sure that's the dragon, right? He introduces himself as Cheon Iji and throws out a nice to meet you. Next chapter, out in the hallways, Ha-bin is looking for someone's classroom. She accidentally bumps into someone, says hi to the teacher, and starts helping people out since she works with the student council. After a while, she's exhausted. Then her friends suddenly come over asking her for tips like how to seduce guys, because they think she's got talent, since she's had Woojin around since childhood. She says that has nothing to do with it, but the others say she shouldn't complain because he wasn't that bad looking once he took off his glasses. All of that is just to create some drama and make her start wondering in the end, why do I feel this tightness in my chest? Come on, girl. It's been like 50 chapters of suffering already. In the end, he's going to reject you too, because he's way too much of a man to like women, so don't even stress. Anyway, the main guy walks into the club room with Ray. The cat's there, everyone's there. Nina is furious, because apparently some of Heiben's friends keep coming in all the time to pet her. She's jumping on the main guy, complaining that he's always late, and while he's about to ask Heiben something, he notices she looks kind of sad and asks if something happened. She just says people used her a lot today, and she's pretty worn out. Then the nurse starts explaining the obvious. They're going to use Woojin and his power to try to locate more people at school who have powers. But Kukyo shows her tablet and says she's been checking everything happening in the area, dating apps, school chats, to see if anything suspicious pops up. And there's one story that's really worth investigating, a weird duel that's going to happen at the track. The main guy wonders who would even do a race duel, and the sheep says it's probably whoever has the horse spirit. Nina agrees. Now that they've seen several spirits, it's getting easier to guess the ones they're missing. The race is supposed to be at midnight. Habin doesn't want to stay that late, but Nina says if the duel is happening today, they don't have a choice. Plus, it might be the only chance, so skipping it is risky. Kukyo thinks it sounds fun, while the guy who just transferred just stands off to the side watching Shionji. He walks down the hallway, nothing suspicious. Night comes, the school is empty, and they're all hiding. It looks like there's only one person there, and they're confused. It's supposed to be a competition, so there should be two. But then Woojin senses a weird power approaching, an absurd amount, and the girl shows up with this intense aura, and she's apparently the horse, because she's got a tail. She comes face to face with the other girl, who asks why she has a tail and ears. The horse girl ignores her, and says she should already know the rules of the duel. The poor girl says okay, but the horse girl wants to set the terms. If she wins, the other girl isn't allowed to run for a while. The girl who's competing thinks maybe that's why the club has been acting weird, and she says if she wins, the horse girl has to remove that chain tattoo and let everyone go back to normal, and also apologize to the public. While they're arguing, the group is watching from far away, but nobody can hear anything. Rabin Hatsbin tries with her sharp hearing and catches something about conditions, something about not running. Nina says for now it's better to just watch and see what happens. Then the nurse shows up, seems to recognize the kid, and says the girl competing is the second fastest on the school team. She's an athlete who got a school scholarship, won a bunch of awards and trophies. Back to the two of them. The trophy-winning runner says they'll race 50 meters, 100 meters, and 400 meters. If it still isn't decided, they'll pick the next events. The horse girl just says whatever. She won't need more than that. The competitor is confident, thinking she has a chance. They get ready. She glances to the side and starts hesitating, but she's sure she can win. She placed second in the qualifiers. Last year, nobody was faster than her, but her thoughts get cut off when the horse girl launches like a bullet. She tries to chase, but the horse spirit girl is taking these long stretched strides, and 10 seconds later, she's already got 2 more wins. She wins the match, best of 3. The main guy is shocked, watching from a distance, wondering if that's what it means to have the horse spirit. And yeah, that's exactly what it means. They go back for another race, and she even loses the 100 meters, which was supposed to be her strongest. So she starts thinking the horse girl must be a short distance specialist, and she figures she'll win the 400. Woojin scratches his head, wondering how they're supposed to capture someone who's basically a pro runner. Haiji says they have Hatsbin, but Hatsbin warns them her thing is jumping, not running. Nina says there's actually a pretty easy way. Since it's a race, they know exactly where she's going to finish. They get ready for another round, but suddenly the competitor takes off early. She went 5 seconds before the timer, telling herself no rule said she had to wait until the last second. Yeah, that's obviously the basic rule, girl. She knows the other one is using some kind of trick, so this makes it fair. But the horse girl doesn't care. She waits out the 5 seconds, then shoots forward, passes her, and right then the main guy tells everyone to move in. The group jumps in, but the horse girl activates something and takes off, leaving everyone eating dust. The group is stunned. She stops, turns around, and says the duel has been decided. From now on, the restriction will activate, and boom, she drops the curse on the other girl, her thighs getting squeezed by chains. The main guy realizes that's the price of losing a duel against her. Then suddenly it's the next day, and she just got away? Because the nurse is looking at the girl's leg with the tattoo, and she says it only starts hurting when she starts running. The main guy asks why she's so obsessed with running, and what happened for her to end up in second place. Why did this whole fight start? She explains she's second because the #1 runner suddenly disappeared from the team. In a flashback, we see the track group talking about a rumor. There's a ghost that challenges you to a race, and if you lose, you can never run again. And apparently the school's top runner stopped running because she lost to that ghost. So you'd ask, okay, but why not just refuse the challenge? And then we find out. A girl walks into the room and shows she got a letter. It looks like once you receive the letter, the chain already appears. And if you don't accept the challenge, the chain grows, so you don't really have a choice. Now Haiji is pacing back and forth trying to understand what's going on. This curse stuff feels way too weird for someone with the horse's power. The main guy says it really doesn't make much sense, and asks Nina if she knows, out of the remaining spirits, who could have a power like that. Suddenly, Nina asks who won the first Zodiac tournament. Haiji and the main guy think that's weird, because in theory Nina participated, but she says she has no idea. And then it clicks. Oh, it must be number 1. And they say it's the rat, the animal that's first in the count of the 12 Zodiac. And right away Nina says she remembers now. How could she forget the rat's power? Something called a geese. Yeah, that's definitely curse-related, and it looks like the guy who transferred might be the rat, not the dragon. Nina asks the cursed girl if anything else strange happened besides the tattoo. Like, did she hear a weird voice? Receive anything else? And the girl says she got this strange urge, like she really wanted to find out who sent the letter. Haijin says that makes sense, because nobody who's being threatened would want to join a duel like that. So now everyone thinks whoever has that power also has some kind of mind control. The main guy asks Nina what exactly this geese is, the power she mentioned. She says she doesn't remember clearly, but it's some kind of ability to create contracts and oaths, that kind of thing. Like you set conditions and then you can't break them. Haijin asks how the track team could have avoided it, and Nina says it's hard to tell, but it doesn't seem like something you can refuse. Kukyo immediately says if that's real, it's insanely broken. The good part is now they're sure the rat and the horse are involved, which is 2 more people. But the main guy asks if Nina really can't remember anything else that could help. She puts a hand to her head and says she can't remember the ability because when she tries, it's like nothing comes to her. And she's sure she made some contract with the rat in her past life, and that's why she got betrayed. That's it, I just spoiled everything. I figured out the whole story in 1 sentence. The main guy asks if she forgot because it was so long ago, and she says no. It's like her memory is shut off somehow. Then Jiu asks how they're going to solve this and whether it has anything to do with what happened at the park that day. Everyone's standing there deep in thought and nobody says a word. Then the protagonist speaks up. Okay, they're not sure about anything, but they can't just stay still. Little by little, they'll figure it out. Haijin agrees. If they capture that horse girl, at least they'll get some information about the rat because the 2 of them are connected. Jiu agrees too. But the problem is going to be capturing someone who can run at that speed. So the protagonist goes, perfect. So all they have to do is make her want to compete against them. And he's counting on Rabin for that. Rabin's there like, not really getting what any of this has to do with her. The scene cuts to the track team, where the coach is saying they're on a streak of bad luck. They already lost their number 1, and now they lost their number 2 in another accident. Looks like they're going to have to consider trying out some new people, or they'll end up with nobody on the team. While he's scratching his head saying they unfortunately have to do it, Rabin suddenly shows up. She still doesn't understand how she got dragged into this. Then we see the moment she asked the protagonist if she really was supposed to join the track team, and he says of course. Apparently the horse girl challenges everyone there, so it's the perfect chance. If she wants to hide, why not force her to come out and challenge Rabin? Rabin's scared, asking how she's supposed to end up at the top of the group. Nina tells her not to worry, because she's not just some normal human. Back at the tryouts, Haijin is standing off to the side telling everyone to get ready, cheering for Rabin. Rabin walks to the middle of the track, closes her eyes, and decides to just run with everything she's got. The next second she opens her eyes and she's already left all the other girls way behind. She barely even tried and still came in first. The instructor is standing there confused, saying she just broke last year's record. Where was someone with talent like that hiding? All the background girls who honestly don't even deserve a paint bucket to get colored in are trying to talk to her, asking how she's so good. And she's like, guys, it's my first time. Seriously. Yeah, sure. Totally not cheating, right? Let's be real. She humiliated everyone using pure plot power. Beautiful. Sent everybody home crying. The pride of the nation. Haijin is impressed, and the protagonist is like, obviously this is thanks to divine powers. Then Nina starts to say it's not just that. It's also because she's the rabbit. And the protagonist immediately covers Nina's mouth. The protagonist praises Rabin, saying he knew he could count on her. And now she gets all happy. Being able to help him felt amazing. For the first time, she actually felt useful. Back in the room, it's decided. Since she got first place, the Horse Girls Challenge is definitely coming soon. Robin wants to know exactly how she's supposed to react to that. The protagonist says first they need to watch closely and figure out the exact conditions for how the rat's power gets activated. But of course, not everything is going to be on Rabin's shoulders. That's why he has a favor to ask the youngest and the oldest in the group. Rabin's still unsure, but he grabs her hand and asks her to trust them. 1 second she gets shy, the next she punches him and says fine. But if his awful plan doesn't work, he's not getting away with it. With that, she slams the door and everyone's kind of confused. But on the other side, she's basically having a full-on panic meltdown. Sometime later, when she goes to her classroom, there's a weird letter sitting on her desk. She and Haijin go for it, no hesitation. Rabin picks it up and reads, "By Rabin, I challenge you to a duel, midnight at the track. If you lose, you'll never be allowed to compete in a national competition again. We'll decide the rest of the details when we meet." Damn, today the horse girl showed up looking all athletic in comfy clothes, and she's still giving off that aura. Meanwhile, Rabin's standing there all modest in her coat. The horse girl walks up and says, "You weren't on the team, so why did you join now? And also, do you even know the rules of this duel?" Rabin says she has no idea what she's talking about. All she knows is that if she loses, she won't be able to run anymore. The horse girl keeps stepping closer and says, fine, it'll be best of 5. First one to win 3 takes it. Robin can choose whatever win conditions she wants. And on top of that, she can ask for something. She gives an example. The last person who raced her asked for the ability to run as fast as a horse. But Robin says she doesn't want that ability. Since the horse girl likes running so much, all Robin wants is for her to be banned from running for a month. The second she says that, a mark appears on her foot. So is the rat watching? What is going on? The horse girl clearly doesn't care and just says fine. What kind of race is it? Robin says running in a straight line is boring. While she says it, she's side-eyeing the protagonist. Then she says using the entire school as the race course would be way more fun. So we cut back to the club meeting with the protagonist saying that after seeing the horse girl's speed, he's sure nobody there can beat her in a straight sprint. Robin asks why they even put her into this challenge. He answers that she has something way better than a horse, like she can jump way higher. Since the horse girl can only run forward, if they set up a route where the horse girl has to go around and Robin can jump, Robin actually has a chance. And the way they're going to set it up is they'll place a bunch of flags all around the school, and the first person to touch all the flags wins. Nina says it's a great idea. While the horse girl has to run around, climb stairs, go through everything to reach the roof, Robin can just jump and be done with it. He's confident because one time he tried to catch Robin. She jumped so high he realized that when it comes to vertical movement, there's no way to deal with her. Robin gets a little awkward and says, well, if he trusts her, then okay. Meanwhile, out of nowhere, Jaehyun says it's wonderful to get to play with that horse girl. The protagonist admits that this time they kind of look like the villains, because they're making a plan that's basically a trap. Back with the horse girl, she's thinking, okay, so there are a bunch of flags out there. First one to get each of them wins, and the whole place is basically the racetrack. Now Robin's worried the girl might say no, so she provokes her, asking, what, are you scared? You think you're not faster than me? The horse girl says fine. Then, 3 rounds, no way she's losing. With the moon in the sky, she gets ready, looks over at Robin standing beside her and smiles. Then Robin crouches, looks back, and the horse girl shoots off like a bullet, already sprinting up the stairs. Bam! Breaks the door at the top, spots the flag. But what she didn't expect was that the little rabbit showed up too. Robert got there first, touched the flag, and said today she's the one who wins. The horse girl calls her a cheater. But let's be honest, the real cheater is the horse girl, with her power that she uses to bully everyone. Then Robert jumps off one building, jumps to another, and she's about to reach the next flag when the horse girl manages to turn the corner at the same time. Robert touches it, and the horse girl asks what's going on, because the pig girl grabbed the flag and tossed it to the sheep girl, who says they never agreed on any rule that says you can't move the flags. The horse girl stands there asking if this turned into tag out of nowhere. The sheep girl ignores her and jumps out. But the horse girl is already right on them. She goes to jump and grab it, but then it gets thrown to the cat girl, who sticks to the wall. Someone yells to pass it over. The horse girl jumps and catches it midair. Except then the protagonist touches the whistle, because Robin had already turned hers in. And just like that, Robin finishes the first round. Yeah, the group went way too hard for that first part. Was all of that really necessary? They're celebrating while the horse girl stands in the background looking completely dark, just radiating this divine aura made of pure rage. The protagonist is shocked. She had more power than the snake did after absorbing everyone's powers, and she says it's shameful that they're dirtying this sacred duel. They needed likes on this video that helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers. Activate the cheeky little bell, animats.